Well. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. What day is today? Friday. Happy Friday. I should have known that. You know what? I was like most likely not going to stream today. I was pretty close to just being like, hey, I'm just going to be on the grind set in terms of like non-stream work stuff. But last minute I decided, why not? Let's just go through it. Let's stream today because you know what? I'm very close to finishing the Mongolia photos. Yesterday I didn't stream. I had a few meetings in the daytime, which kind of took me out of my normal schedule. So it was just a little bit rough for me to try to get back into streaming mode. So then today I was like, oh, maybe I'll just take today off too from streaming so I can do my other work stuff. But here I am. I made it. Hello. Are my cats here? Where are my cats? Let's see. Oh, speak of the devil, who's approaching? Look at this little cutie. He's coming on over, maybe. And then I guess there's his tail. All right. So I don't know where Nala is, but Kimbap looks like he's trying to... He might come on over here. We'll see. I did have to clean... Oh, here's the thing. I had to clean this thing today because I woke up this morning, I'm doing my normal routine, and what do I see? I see a big pile of shit. I honestly, I can't tell if it's shit or if they just throw up something that looks like shit, but there was a nice little brown clump all on this bed. So I had to put it through the cleaner. So I think my cat looks like he's sniffing around. Maybe also he's not familiar with the smell. Anyways. Hello, everyone. So happy Friday. Like I said, I wasn't planning on streaming. We are going to stream today. It is now almost 8 p.m. my time. So let's say, how many photos do I have left to edit? We got some juicy ones still. Like, I think potentially could be the best shots of the entire trip, or at least one of my Mongolia trips. We still have those left to edit. So I'm actually looking forward to it. But before we do that, obviously, I wanted to just kind of have a chill time here as per usual. Let's kind of start off with Dator says hello, good evening. Wait, how come I didn't see that on my did it not show up here? Hey Dator, guten Abend. I apologize, your message didn't show up on my main connected chat. Man, this always seems to happen. I never know how to fix it. All right, give me a second. Dator, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for hopping in. How do I fix this? Here, in the meantime, let's see if my cat is still hanging out. All right, you guys can get the body of my cat while I fix this. So I need to reset. On my OBS, sometimes the Twitch thing gets disconnected. It says it's connected, but something has to be done to like make it link up again. And I think I'm using Streamlabs, and that thing also bothers me so much because that seems to always break down as well. So give me a second here. We're going to go to the settings, account settings, platforms. Let's go ahead and reconnect. But thank you, Dator. Thanks for being so loyal and consistently checking out my streams and supporting me. The goal is to keep growing, of course, on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. I'm almost to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I am very excited for that, for sure. So fingers crossed, guys, that we'll kind of cross into that point very, very soon. Okay, everything's fixed. Cool. All right, so like I said, we're going to have a chill stream today. We're going to do a lot of photo edits. So my goal is to finish all of Mongolia by the end of the stream. So right now it's 8 p.m., almost 8 p.m. my time. That's kind of my, let's say, goal for the day. I don't know how many photos I have left. TWSPYC. I'm just going to say every letter in your username says hello. Hello. Thank you. It says you're a first-time chatter. So I appreciate you hopping in here. I don't know how you found my channel, but whatever algorithm got you here, I appreciate it. Actually, I'll take this moment to also then quickly introduce myself. Who am I? What do I do? So I am a wildlife and travel photographer turned videographer. I started a YouTube channel a couple years ago, and my focus has been trying to capture the best of the world, share the best of the world with the rest of the world, which is what I always say. And I share it through my photos and videos. I started on Instagram, and then I shifted to YouTube, and now I've started to learn live streaming. Too spicy, if that makes it easy. Oh my god, that's so obvious. I totally didn't get it. My brain is not functioning. It's a Friday, so it is what it is. Too spicy is the one who said hello. Thank you. And thank you for hopping into the Twitch side. So I am based in Dubai. I'm originally from the US, and from Dubai, I travel the world as much as I can. I was fortunate with, I balanced traveling with my corporate job before, and then for the past 2 to 3 years, I've been out of corporate, and I've been using this time to just fully dedicate towards hopefully building out my brand, my skills. And so one of the biggest things that have happened this year was end of last year and this year has been a new chapter in my journey where I am aiming to become a filmmaker. So thankfully I have a connection. I have a few different partnerships, but my main one is with Nikon. So if you look at all the cameras that I shoot with, you can kind of see here behind my cat bed. It's all Nikon lenses except for one there. And the goal for what I do is try to share stories. So one of the most recent projects I did, you can find it on my YouTube channel. It's called Island of Second Chances on my YouTube channel, which I'll plug here as well. Boom, boom, boom. It's a 5-minute short film I made in partnership with Nikon. They told me about the launch of their new camera, which I'm filming with right now, or I use it for my stream camera here. And they asked if I wanted to make some content and shoot with the camera before the announcement, before the launch. So I pitched this project where I wanted to tell like a conservation story about these rescued chimpanzees that live on an island off the coast of Uganda. And so they agreed to it. I went there for 3 days, filmed everything myself, edited everything, shot everything, did everything all myself, which I'm very proud of, and turned it into that quick 5-minute video. And it got good reception from the Nikon team, and hopefully that means future work with them, of course. But yeah, that's what I do. You asked a question, Too Spicy said, how do you make money and support this life? Oh my God. You know what? We're still trying to figure that out. Definitely by you subscribing, by you watching my streams, watching my YouTube channel. That does help. You know, every little bit helps. For the most part, when I left corporate and I was kind of in this interesting mode of like, okay, does it make sense or not? I decided I'm just gonna not worry about making money. My focus is just focus my time on hopefully building out my brand, build out my skill sets as a photographer, travel related stuff and things like that. And that has kind of worked out for me so far. What's happening? Katzenell and Boggin, thanks for hopping in here, saying good day. Too Spicy, I asked because you quit the corporate world, so I was curious. Yeah, no, I love these questions. Thank you for asking. And I might dedicate a video to this at some point. I don't want to make a video yet because I don't think I don't think I've survived yet. I don't think I've made it to the next level. I'm almost there. I have so many missing pieces. I've accomplished a number of things. Now I have to combine it into a sustainable, consistent trajectory. So basically what I did is after corporate, I have a lot of my savings. So thankfully I had a good corporate job that I worked in for years. And so I decided, you know what, F it. I'm going to burn through my savings to the last dollar. And I never want to go back to corporate. That was kind of like my mentality. And for the first year and a half, I basically traveled almost consistently, or like, I would say I was traveling about 2 to 3 weeks every month for like a year and a half straight. And that's where I kept mentioning I had over 100 terabytes of travel footage to get through. So some of those trips were like photo tours. So maybe just to be more direct to your question, Too Spicy, one of the ways that I make money is I organize tours. So places that I travel to. For example, here, Mongolia, the second trip, I took a guest with me. So he traveled with me for I think like 10 to 15 days in Mongolia. If you've seen my channel, or if you check out my streams or my YouTube channel, things like that, you'll notice a lot of content from Uganda. I've been focusing on Uganda quite a bit. So what I do is I organize, here, actually, I'll show you my website. So for example, let's just open up one of these. I've been starting to mainly focus on Uganda, but I have taken clients across, I think, 9 different countries at this point across the past 2.5 years, 3 years. But Uganda is the one I go to repeatedly. So what I do is I organize, like, let's say a 9-day tour, and you can see the entire itinerary, you can see the photos, my FAQs, you can see what the lodge accommodations are, you can see what reviews I've received or the photos I take of my clients when they travel with me. And so this became something I decided I really like doing. I love taking people with me to explore the world. So that's a big part of what I'm still aiming to do. I have a couple that I'm taking to Uganda in October. This November trip, I still need to plan for it, but that's technically on the calendar as well. Katzenell and Bogan asked, what kind of corporate job did you have? I worked in fintech, payments, stuff like that. And I've put on many hats across my corporate life. I've started in like kind of rotational programs. So every 6 months I would switch gears, whether it's like sales or strategy or design. I've ended up in so many different roles, which actually served me quite well because I am the master of jack of all trades, if I can butcher that phrasing. And yeah, I ended up always being very generalist. And when I moved to Dubai, I ended up going into more of a sales-ish, but innovation design role. So I ended up starting to design like innovation studios. I was promoting payments and the future of payments and fintech. And I would always, because Dubai was like our main headquarters for a number of countries across Middle East, Africa, Central Europe, you'd have clients coming into our offices every day. And my job was to wow them. I would have to sell them on why they should work with my company. And here's the vision of the future and where we can take it. So it was a lot of like talking in front of clients and doing a lot of acting, if you will. And so thankfully that helped hone my skills of public speaking. It's allowed me to do this, right? Where I can talk for hours on a stream about nothing or talk to nobody, and it's totally fine by me. So they did help me out quite a bit. Too Spicy says, if I had to ask, is the balance going down or up? Ooh, that's a good question. I had a few, is the term windfall? I had a few things work in my favor in those 2 to 3 years where I had big moments of like chunks of money coming in for a project. Or I had random, like this is where it's like right now I can't really advise my lifestyle to most people. Because one, I had some savings to pull from, and then two, for example, my landlord, my goddamn landlord. Okay, I had a landlord, I think he's based in, holy crap, is he based in Iran? Oh no. As much as I hate this guy, I hope he's doing all right, or I hope he's alive. Jesus. Okay, anyways, I had a landlord who was not based in Dubai, and I always had to go through an intermediary. A few years ago, when the Russia-Ukraine war started getting crazy and a lot of people were fleeing those countries, we had a lot of Russians come to Dubai, and it jacked up the market, the housing market. Sorry, I'm going into huge story mode, just FYI. And when that happened, the rent prices for everybody was going up, like the value of everything was going up. My freaking landlord was like, I think maybe 1 month before my rent was supposed to be renewed, he's like, hey, we're going to raise your rent by 35%. And I was like, no, the F you are not. And I showed him why legally he's not allowed to do that. But I still, out of good faith, because I've been there for years, I was like, hey, look, I'm willing to accept a price increase because I understand the market's going up, but I just want it to be within reason. I liked where I lived. I didn't want to move out, and I want to have a good relationship. I'm not trying to cause issues. Instead, I come home from work one day and slapped on my door is an eviction notice, which basically gives me 1 year to stay there at the existing rate, which is fine, but then I get kicked out after a year, which is so infuriating for so many different reasons. I wasted days of my life just having to research, trying to figure out what I need to do legally, going to different departments of the government to figure out, like, am I in trouble? What I got to do? Point is, he evicted me for the wrongfully. Katzenell and Bogan says, after grad school, I'm most definitely going corporate. Just finished undergrad. I don't disagree. I think I would encourage most people to go through a corporate 9 to 5. Doing this kind of lifestyle, what I'm doing, it's definitely not for everyone, and it's definitely not easy There's a lot of reward that comes from it, but it's not always easy to do, especially right out while you're still young. I'm in my 30s now, so it's a different world. But when you're in your 20s, I think the discipline and the routine and other things that you develop from a corporate job is actually really fundamental to just surviving in society. I genuinely feel that way, because there's a lot of discipline you don't get anywhere else besides a corporate team environment, when you have a boss who is evaluating your work, or you have the stresses of friendly competition amongst your colleagues, and then how do you improve yourself, and all the other kind of things you imagine. And also having to do work that you have no passion for, and you're doing someone else's job, and you don't know is there value in what you're doing every day, which sounds very depressing. But it's like it does build up a thick skin and a level of resilience that I think can only help you when you decide, when you're more mature and you have a good sense of what you want to do, to then exit corporate and survive in that world. That's just my 2 cents. It's a blanket statement, but yeah. Too Spicy says, LOL, bro got cooked. I did get cooked, I will say. No. Hey, hold on. Sorry, I didn't mean to flick you off. Too Spicy, that is not true. It seemed like I got cooked. And in some ways, maybe I did, because I didn't want to move out of there. And I did have to move to a new apartment, which the rent was much higher. But in my mind, I was like, it's okay temporarily, because I had just gotten a good promotion. And I was like, okay, fine. But it worked out for me because I had my tendrils still in my old apartment, okay? I had friends who still lived in that apartment. Dubai's not that big, okay? And so I asked them to keep an eye out to see if, like, hey, in my old flat, hey, Nala, hey, by the way, she's not supposed to be here. I shouldn't allow her on the desk. Come on, Nala, get down. Come on, get down. Come on, Nala, get down. Good girl. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nala. She's the queen of the house. She's my first of 2 cats. I got her during COVID times, so she was like my COVID baby, essentially. So let me try to get her off the desk. Come on. There you go. Almost. Come on, you bastard. Oh. No, get down. I don't want to... Yeah. Good girl. And then we got Kimbap over here hanging out with us as well. Kimbap is the second, the younger brother of the 2. Nala is the older sister. There you go. There's our streaming family. Too Spicy said... Katzenell and Boggin said 35% is crazy. It was absolutely crazy. He had no right to do it. That cheeky. It was very cheeky of him. But then Too Spicy says, yeah, corporate is all right. Comes to this, I'm moving out of this corporate thing and trying to step into working for myself. Yeah, and I'm not saying like, hey, you got to sell your soul to the the corporate machine. Definitely don't think that. But life is not this binary world. Life is definitely a world of like, listen, you got to go through the ropes. It's a journey. It's a roller coaster. And so each thing takes you to the next part of your path. So corporate is definitely one of those where you get a lot of social skills, right? Because you have to see people every day. You get discipline because you have to wake up at a certain time every day to make it to work. It builds in certain routines. You got soft skills, technical skills. Yeah, I think it's necessary. I just started like 3 months ago of this, but still working in corporate because I can't quit yet. When you say 3 months ago of this, what is this? Are you talking about like doing content creation, streaming, or if you don't mind clarifying. You're using corporate for money? Yeah, exactly. It gives you a bit of stability. It gives you the resources. I would not be able to do what I'm doing now if not for the savings that I've been able to accumulate or accrue throughout my corporate life. Now that savings is not infinite. It is very finite. So it's a nice little reminder and a kick in the ass sometimes that I'm like, okay, I got to keep pushing my ass to if I want to keep doing this forever. But it gave me enough of a push to allow me to kind of go off into the deep end and not drown right away. I only have one client who I recently started. Oh, content creation and video editing for clients. Oh, hells yeah. Well, listen, Too Spicy, I hope you've come to the right place. I hope you end up enjoying my streams. Whenever I'm not traveling, I try to stream about like 4 to 5 times a week. And I do both photo and video edits, right? So I use DaVinci for my video edits, and that is still a bit more, that's a newer part of my journey. So my focus previously was like photography. Like I said, I work with Nikon. and I do a lot of like photo workshops. However, as I've shifted over towards YouTube, as I started playing around with like shorts and reels initially, and then jumped into YouTube, this has kind of started to build up a DNA for me in terms of like how Nikon views me, and also how I can hopefully get clients in the future, right? So just as a quick example, oh wait, there's an update for DaVinci. Let me download this. Just as a quick example, one of the clients or partners that I've worked with in the past, they just opened up a new lodge, and they asked me if, you know, if I'd be willing to travel there to photograph their new lodge and stuff like that. So I'm in the middle of negotiating with them to see like, okay, will they, you know, compensate, you know, will they at least pay for my flights and the logistics, transportation, you know, things like that. But that's only come about because I've start to build up a body of work both on the photo and the video side. Too Spicy says, I make moto vlogs. What is a moto vlog? Moto vlog? Is like I'm assuming it's like motorcycling vlogs, which sounds pretty badass. New moto vlogger, start here. 7 steps to great moto vlogs. Oh, nice. Well, listen, now, I don't do anything as epic as biking, but I have started shooting with a bunch of action cameras. So I shoot with an Osmo Nano, this guy here, which I've already cracked the back screen on my first trip with it. But I got the Osmo Nano, I got the Action 6, I've got the Osmo 360, I've got a camera harness where I strap my main camera to the chest and one to the side, and then I hook up action camera to the shoulders. And so this is what I do for like my chimpanzee treks, for example. So, yeah. Mine is kind of ASMR motovlog. Oh, hells yeah. Man, if you can get some clean audio while on a bike, that's pretty badass. That sounds like some good stuff, man. Yeah, and like consistency, man. You just keep going one day at a time. Mine is, you say yes, sir? Yeah, so anyway, sorry. I also might have ADHD because I hop around on topics. What was I saying? I was saying... hold on, let me close out DaVinci because I have to download an update. Oh, actually, no, I can show you real quick. Oh, so this is a video I just finished. I'm going to publish it on YouTube soon. So this is a trip to India, or I've done a few trips to India. So if you check out my YouTube channel, there's one video I did recently, which was a photo montage, my top 120 photos from Uganda, from my number of trips there. So I figured I'm going to replicate that for a number of my other trips that I've been on, or like other countries. So I'm doing one for India. So you can see here just very quickly, I'll just play a little bit without the soundtrack. So I think it's about 90 plus photos that I ultimately ended up using here. So I'm just doing a final touch up or double checking to make sure everything's good, but you can kind of see a montage of some of the photos I've taken from my trip. So I started in photography and now I'm trying to get into videography. Do I do color grading? I do, yes, absolutely. So on the color grading side, for example, if you tune into some of my upcoming streams, which one should I open up? Let's do this one. Usually during my streams, I use this time to actually edit, color grade from my travels. So you get a little bit of getting to see what my trips look like. And then I also use that time to color grade and learn what are the best ways to edit. And the first 20 something days of my live streaming journey, which you can find on my YouTube channel, it was basically me going every day, building from scratch my Mongolia travel vlog, which you can find on YouTube as well, called Into the Blizzard. And so people would hop in onto the stream and they would give me advice. And I actually learned quite a lot throughout that process, thanks to a lot of people providing their insights. So basically you can see how I color grade. My power grade is a little crazy. It looks very complex, but I swear it's not that bad. But it gives me the results I need. So what you'll end up seeing during my streams is how do I then edit through each of the footage? How do we get the final results? So for a trip like Uganda, I open up a bunch of timelines, each one for different frame rates. So I have 25 frames, 50 frames, 60, 100, 120. Just for this particular trip, I ended up shooting in quite a lot. Too Spicy says, I'll be here. It's a win for me to find you. Hells yeah. Well, I'm glad Twitch did its thing. Them nodes, yes, them nodes be tripping, you know, but yeah, whatever gets the job done. So for this Uganda trip, I was shooting with a bunch of cameras. So this base layer here on track number 1, I shot with the Nikon ZR. So that's my main camera. I was shooting with 2 Nikon ZRs. I was borrowing one from Nikon. So then you can see here, as I was doing my first quick little expedition, we were in the swamp looking for the shoebill stork, this crazy prehistoric looking creature that's like a modern day dodo. So I was anything I film at 25 frames, I put on this bottom track. The second track was anything I filmed with the Osmo Nano. So you can see here, this I set it on my hat. So I'm assuming Too Spicy, this might be something you're more familiar with, especially if you're doing like the moto vlogging. So I really like the Osmo Nano because it shoots in the 10-bit the 10-bit D-Log M, I think it's what it's called. So it's like fairly good color grading. You know, it doesn't match my mirrorless cameras by any means, but it does the job quite nicely. So then anything I capture with that camera, you can see here as I'll use this to kind of do any color grading necessary. Now, keep in mind, this is also the first trips that I was shooting with the action cameras. So I didn't have any ND filters. So there's going to be a lot of like, I just set it on auto mode. So unfortunately, in the future, I'll try to do a bit more, I'll try to be more professional with the action camera. So I don't always have to rely on like auto ISO and the shutter speed situation with the action cameras. But yeah, so you can see a little bit there. And then I also had the Action 6. This is strapped to my camera, to my harness. So you can see what the footage looks like from the Action 6 that was attached to my harness. So this way, because I tend to be like a solo traveler, for the most part, I do solo everything. I'm a solo content creator. If I'm lucky, I have some other people on the trip that can capture footage for me as well. But generally speaking, it's just a one-man show. So the action cameras allow me to kind of hopefully tell better stories because I'm the only one filming. So here we were chasing after a shoebill stork just up there in the top corner, like top middle here where my mouse is. Here I was getting upset. Thank God I muted. I didn't curse or anything, but I was calling out this boat in front of us because they went in. They basically, of all the places, they decide to cut in front of us, which is just, it's just like you shouldn't do that, you know? There's like certain rules, the rules of the jungle, if you will, of like things you should and shouldn't do. And they broke that rule. How dare they? So yeah, anyways, you can see a mixture, and then I have a timeline for like, let's say my 50 frames per second. So then for the 50 frames per second, you can see all the footage here. And then so these ones are still not graded, right? So for example, let's say during a stream, if I'm in editing mode, we'll open this guy up, and then I might I've already applied my power grade, but then I'll start like, you know, playing with the curves, not on this one, but you know, let's say if I adjust the curves a bit, or if I want to change yeah, you get the point. I use my particular nodes to make the adjustments needed to kind of drop everything down. Maybe I think I want to increase the saturation. Let's just try global for now. I want to increase the blue if there's any. Not much. And then let's drop some of the highlights a bit. And then I use Dehancer. So I shout out to Dehancer for reaching out to me, and I've been able to promote them. And I use them for every one of my projects now. So hands down, one of the best for not just like creative colors, but even just like in my standard color correction mode, it comes in handy. So yeah, so then I'll just gonna go through the steps, and then usually people will hop in at different points who might give me good pointers or suggestions on like how I could improve my color grading. And that is big for me. I'm not here to be like, you know, I'm an expert, you should pay attention to what I say and only how I do it. I'm here to like get called out if I do things incorrectly, or if you have suggestions on other ways to do this. I'm all ears. So but yeah, point is, I use this time to then do these edits, and you can follow along with me. You can see my travels. Hopefully you get a little bit of a taste of what it's like being in my shoes when I'm going out there trying to capture the world. So example here, we got a nice moment of the shoe bill grooming itself because it had rained in the morning, so it was trying to dry off. Yeah, so anyways, so this is just from one of the trips. Now, today's goal is not to go through this per se. I'm supposed to focus on Mongolia. All right, so we got our Mongolia footage to go through. But I figured I'd just share a little bit of this so you have a good sense of what I do. And if you are curious, well, firstly, thanks again for hopping in on Twitch and just, you know, chatting away, being showing genuine interest. I appreciate that. But yeah, if you want to know more about what I do, the place that I point people towards the most... Yo, thank you for the follow. Too spicy. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're getting there. Where I point people the most is definitely my YouTube channel, because that's where... going back to your original question of like, how do you make money and stuff? I believe it's not right away, right? It's not like you make money immediately. I'm not someone who can go super viral. I don't make the type of content that is good for viral stuff or whatever. So with that in mind, I still think YouTube is, for a medium to long term, that's probably the best place to invest your time as a content creator, because it has the most straightforward monetization formula, and it actually pays you for the views, right? Like you can have a 1 million view Instagram reel or TikTok short or TikTok or whatever, and it doesn't mean anything. It means diddly squat in terms of like how much money does that give you as a creator. It can help with you know, finding some partners or affiliates or sponsorships, but from like actual dollars coming in, it's not the best strategy. So whereas with YouTube, if you make consistently, if you grow there consistently, you get views consistently, then you get paid for like the ad dollars and then other ways, right? So in my opinion, I think YouTube is definitely the long-term best play to do. And for me personally, for what I do, maybe for you too, Spicy, it's also my resume. It becomes like, so for example, 2 months ago, so I was traveling all throughout March and April. And some of you guys who have been watching my stream, you're probably tired of me saying this every time, but when I was traveling for those 2 months, I had 3 different projects. One of those projects was with CNN Create. And so CNN Create is like the creative branch of CNN International. And the director of photography, or like the main guy who was spearheading this project, he had stumbled upon me through my YouTube video. He just saw my YouTube video on a particular trip, or like one of my countries that I filmed about. And so then he reached out to me from that video to see if I was interested in potentially working with them. And it turned into a project. I travel with them as like a camera operator, and hopefully it means future projects with them. So, but yeah, all of that came from a freaking YouTube video. Yeah, you just never know what becomes an avenue for people to stumble upon your work and turn into work. So yeah, in my opinion, I think posting on YouTube is probably one of the best strategies long term. So just keep that in mind. Instagram, TikTok, it's a little bit more saturated. It's easier for people to make how do you say this? Making an Instagram reel or a TikTok is infinitely easier than making a YouTube video, in my opinion, all things equal. So there's just a lot more that goes into a 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute video compared to a 5-second, 10-second, you know, reel. Not to like denigrate reels or shorts. It's just, it's a different type of skill set, and it's one where more people can do. There's a lot more barriers. There's a lot more barriers to entry to being a YouTuber than there are to being an Instagrammer or a TikToker or whatever, right? So it just means the competition's there, right? But it's not as saturated, relatively speaking. So I hope that was all helpful. Oh yeah, like I said, I think I have ADHD. I was supposed to explain that landlord story. So the landlord kicks me out, and then thankfully I had eyes and ears based on that old apartment, and eventually once something hit, right, the tripwire was set. where it's like, okay, my suspicions were that my landlord, after he evicts someone, after the moment I leave or whenever the eviction date is, he's not legally allowed to re-rent that apartment to anyone else for, I think, 1 to 2 years. And especially because the reason that he gave for eviction was for resale or for selling the property. The rationale he gave in his eviction was that I can rightfully evict you because I'm trying to sell the property. So if that's his given reason, he can't now just rent the property. He has to actually sell it. Otherwise, I can catch him in the act. So my suspicion was true. He ended up renting that apartment like not even a month after I left, I think. So I took his ass to court and I won. It took like 9 months and he appealed. And so, but point is, I still ended up winning. And I think I got like 1.5 years worth of rent from this bastard. So it kind of worked in my favor where, especially in the time when I'm not in corporate anymore, I don't have that steady salary. I at least didn't have to pay rent for a year, you know, basically like 1 year's worth. So that was a huge boon that you can't expect. It's not like I can give advice to someone if you're going to leave corporate or if you want to stay out of corporate. You can't, like, how do you tell people that? Like, oh, all you need is to win a lawsuit against your landlord and boom. But that did actually extend my timeline of how long I could stay out of corporate. And then during those 2.5 to 3 years, there was enough of these like check marks of like successful things, whether it was running these photo tours or being able to do these bigger projects or now getting into more like filmmaking stuff, that I realized even if I don't still have like steady income, where it's not like I'm getting proper paychecks every month that pays for all the bills, I still have to pull from my savings. But it's been enough of these wins and successes that keeps justifying why I should do this for another year, another 2 years, or however long. So it's not the full answer, but, and then I also do a bit of freelance work. So I don't promote myself for this because I don't want to dedicate too much of my free time or my time to doing freelance, because that kind of defeats the purpose of trying to get out of corporate, or like doing the 9-to-5 stuff. But occasionally I do corporate events, photo shoots, video shoots for like my former company and any other random connections I have. Too Spicy says, bro, YouTube is nuts. How long have you been doing YouTube? YouTube, basically it was around the same thing, like around the same time I left corporate. So about like 2 years or so. Technically, I think I opened it maybe 3 years ago. But then because I ended up traveling for like 1.5 years straight, I never had time to actually consistently post on YouTube. So there's like a huge hiatus of like about a year or so where I didn't actually get to publish things on YouTube consistently. And you can only do YouTube properly, I think, if you're posting consistently, which took me a long time. So it feels weird to say I've been doing YouTube for 3 years. Seriously, it's been probably like about 1 year to 1.5 years that I've been publishing as consistently as possible. And then for live streaming, this is my 157th live stream, and I started back in July of last year, and then we went like 40-something days in a row, 8 hours a day streaming, multi-streaming across YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, and that was really fun, good learnings there. And then now I'm getting back into travel, so I just try to do it whenever possible. And the biggest next milestone for me is IRL live streaming. So I will be taking you guys with me once I've already locked up a partnership. We're just figuring out the dates. And one of the community members, shout out to Swiss Army Cinema. If the dates work out, he's actually going to join me as like a secondary camera operator. But basically we're going to do a live stream off of a Jeep while we're in the safari. So as we do our little wildlife safari expeditions, I'll be streaming it. So you guys can actually watch with me and then see when the cheetah, goes for a hunt, right? So, and it's all technically all feasible. I think all the parts are almost there for me. So yeah, it's just about timing. Too Spicy says, we back at the landlord story after 30 minutes. Was it 30? I thought it was longer. I'm pretty sure I do have ADHD, but it's undiagnosed, but whatever, The landlord cooked himself. Exactly. Everything comes full circle. That was my explanation from an hour ago, where I was saying, no, I didn't get cooked. He got cooked. Now, hopefully he didn't get cooked literally. Okay, it feels weird even to joke about this. I usually have very dark humor. Like I said, I think he lives in Iran. So I wish him I wish him the best? I wish I don't wish for anyone's downfall. Not really. I don't think I really genuinely hate anyone, except for like maybe figureheads. I wish him the best in terms of improving his personality. I wish he learns from his degenerate behavior of trying to rip people off. I hope he does turn a new leaf. How about that? And I wish him health. I wish him a long life so he has a lot of time to learn how to be a better human. There you go. That's what I'll land on. Freelancing has the same meaning as corporate. No. I kind of misspoke there a little bit. That's why I was trying to switch to more like 9 to 5. Obviously, corporate is quite different. But the problem with why I viewed it as somewhat the same is that when I think of corporate, I think of doing work for someone else. And I think of it as like a huge time commitment of like a 9 to 5 situation where you can't balance your passions plus corporate easily, right? At some point you run into an issue like I did, where it was like, I need to spend more time on my passions, not less. But if I stayed in corporate at the time, I would have to spend more time on corporate, not less. So with freelance, when I'm doing these corporate events, they pay the bill. It pays well when you do these like corporate shoots. But if I start advertising myself for that, if I do more of those projects, that's like, you know, it's like, let's imagine a full day going out to do the shoot, then probably another day or two editing and like, you know, putting all the whatever things together. And then maybe there's some revisions or whatever else. So it turns into like even just one event or one activity can turn into like 3 to 4 days of your time and effort. And those are precious days you need, you know, every day I'm in front of the computer, I'm editing, I'm always behind. So yeah, if I start ending up like, let's say if I'm doing 3 to 4 freelance gigs a month, it's like actually that can pay the bill and then some, right? So technically that is the more strategic and like logical direction I should go. But then for each of those things, I'm basically snuffing out my dream of doing stuff like this, being like let's test out being a live streamer. Can I put it in? Because for me, I don't have a secret sauce. Unfortunately, I'm not a hot girl with a. Do they still do those hot tub stuff? I don't know if that's still a thing. I just know that was like a meme for a while. I don't have a hot tub behind me. I don't have the look, the physique to just go off of my looks. I don't have a personality. Now, not to be too denigrating to myself, but like I don't have that type of personality. I'm not like an IShowSpeed where I have such energy and such humor and such whatever that is so gravitating on stream. I have some things, good qualities, but it's not enough that I can win the cheat code of being a streamer. So since I don't have that, I just have to put in the time. You just got to roll up your sleeves and grind. And that's something I really excel at. That's one thing I can do forever. When I'm passionate about things, I spend all day and night working on it. So yeah, there's no shortcut. I just need to stream every day. I need to learn every day how to do these things. I have to edit every day. So yeah, we got to put in the time. So, okay. I know that was a lot. LQBT. I've never heard LQBT is the trend, but it's died down now. Yeah, I know. You know, I try not to be too political with my, like, I try my best in terms of my content. I don't necessarily want to be someone that dives into topics that, I don't mind controversial topics. My hope is that people watch me to be happy, or people watch me because whatever I'm showing or sharing or showcasing is something enjoyable and gives you a little bit of peace, right? And I don't want to be a person you go to fire you up and get you angry. I hope you're fired up over my landlord though, because, you know, guy was a piece of shit. But like, genuinely speaking, you know, it's like, I try my best not to get into that. Let's not talk about it. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, you can ask me these things. I don't mind talking about those things. I try my best not to like make that my identity, let's say, or my brand. Everybody living their life, we cool, yeah. All right, speaking of living my life, I want to start off by, let me just quickly play this game of dialed.gg. Let's warm up my ear. Turn up the volume. Here we go. Oh, it's too quiet. Not bad. Damn. Oh my god, how was I so bad with that one? What kind of game is this, man? It's just like a casual thing I like to start each stream with. It's just you gotta match the sound frequency apparently. So I'm testing my ears. Okay, I kind of screwed myself with that second one, but. Damn it, I'm doing so good, but I effed myself with the second one. I want to see the boss fight. Speaking of boss fights, I just finished the James Bond game on PS5. Man, that was a fun ass game. Okay, you know what? I didn't do too bad except for the last one. There's the website's still broken because the ranking system's off. But I didn't do too bad, so we'll end there. Because I do want to get to some photo edits. So let me first get my games of chess in. So I try to play 2 games of chess. I need to win 2 out of 3. And then I feel like I'm warmed up. My creative juices are flowing. I can get into editing photos. So chess is the game that I'm most addicted to. I don't play to improve. I just kind of play for speed, and it's just a way to get, like, literally just it forces my brain to be at 100% capacity. And it's kind of fun that way. I've said this on stream before, but one of the best cheat codes that I discovered is playing 1-minute chess games while you're getting tattooed. If you're someone, it depends where you're getting the tattoo, but sometimes the areas can be super, super painful. Like my ribs, what was the most painful? Ribs, and then my lower back was insanely painful. But what you do during the tattoo session is you play quick games of chess. And your brain is so focused on each move, you have no time to think, you can't multitask, so then you don't even feel pain because you're so distracted by a game of chess. Isn't that crazy? I think it's crazy. It's just all in the mind, basically. Oh, what is this guy doing? Let me back out my night. You edit your photos in DaVinci too, right? Asked Too Spicy. No, I don't. That's one thing I want to practice a bit more or test it out, because I know DaVinci now offers photo editing. So we did play with the beta a little bit. What do I do here? Hold on. Should I do this? We'll do this. So yeah, I play with the beta, but usually I use Lightroom. So I use Adobe Lightroom Classic for 99% of my editing needs for photography. Sorry, I'm just distracted here because I'm like, what do I do? What should I do? We have a nice little fork if I play my cards right, but I don't know if it's worth it. So I'm running out of time here. Okay, whatever. Let's just, I'm thinking too long. Obviously, I'm going for this piece. He moved it. Oh, nice. I got the fork I wanted. These other droids, or whatever that phrase is. Do you own DaVinci Studio version? I do. Yes, yes. My rationale is that if this is something I'm doing for a profession, then I should have the best equipment or the best whatever. And specifically, since I was getting into video editing stuff, I figured I should probably put in the money for it. But I quite like DaVinci. Even the free version, it does almost everything you would generally need it to do compared to like any other program that's out there. So I do appreciate that they offer so much for free. But I needed it because I shoot a lot of times in 120 frames per second, and there is a limitation on... Yeah, there's a limitation on the free version for that. What to do? Okay, I'm down by a minute. How much did that cost you? I have no idea. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea. However, I do think whatever it cost, it's worth it. Because it's like a one-time payment compared to like, I cry inside. My soul breaks apart when I think about how much money I spend on my Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. Because you pay so much. And it's like, man, is it worth it? Whereas when you do that one-time payment, it does feel nice. You pay once, and then every time, like even now I was mentioning there's a new update. You don't have to pay for the update, you know, it just comes with the territory. It's a good deal. So how should I do this? This is a kind of a tricky game, and I only have 30 seconds left. He's got a minute. Yikes. All right, we're gonna go speed mode here. Yeah, but I use DaVinci for my video edits. I use Lightroom for my photo edits. There's a software called Premiere. Oh, sorry. There's a software called Dehancer, which I use for my video color grading. And that's turned out really, really nice. I'm a big fan of it. So yeah, and if you want to use Dehancer, I have a code for it, I think. !Dehancer. What does it tell me? So feel free to use this code to get 10% off on Dehancer. I highly recommend it. It is absolutely top-notch quality. Okay, I need to move this guy up. Oh shoot, did I mess up? I did mess up, but okay. It's fine. We gotta go fast. Oh, okay, I got 5 seconds, he got 6 seconds. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? I gotta go fast. I can win on time still. Ah! Oh, I knew it! Yeah! Oh my god, I'm a genius! I'm a god! I was losing on time initially, and I was losing in terms of our performance. However, he made a fatal mistake. He dropped down. He has 3 seconds left. I have 5 seconds left. So he did end up wasting time because I did a certain move. And then I made the epic pre-move right there. I knew when I moved my rook here that he was just going to take it. So then I pre-moved, so I lost no time, and then he lost time trying to figure out his next one. There you go. That's how you win when you're down. All right, one more game, and then we can focus on editing. Oh. Let's go. What else? Oh yeah, I was using something called Luminar Neo. But I have to I either have to reach out to them again, or my subscription expired because I've been traveling. So I haven't played with it too much. Now, a lot of photographers and videographers, they stand by a software called Topaz. And I've actually used them quite a bit. So Topaz is excellent for when you need to clean up your image. Let's say if you have too much grain or noise in your shot, it's really good at denoising and kind of like bringing back some sharpness or clarity into your shots and clean it up. So yeah, it's quite expensive though. Oh, this guy is so bad. Giving up your queen? Wow. Loser. All right, we got our 2 games. All right, now I can move on with my life. But yeah, so Topaz. Now, what's changed recently is Lightroom has gotten so much better with their built-in denoise software. So in the past like couple years, Lightroom has built-in denoising that does such a good job. If I shoot a photo in like 6,000, 10,000 ISO, it doesn't matter. I can still end up with a pretty clean image using Lightroom's denoise. So that has kind of reduced the value of Topaz in my mind of like, is it necessary? If you're getting Topaz for removing noise, it's not so necessary. If you want it to, because they have other features like you can upscale your photos, right? So you can then just absolutely be able to take like a, you know, small resolution photo and then blow it up so you can print it, things like that. But where I think Topaz still has a lot of value is on the video side. Two Spicy's asking, DaVinci also has denoise, right? It does have a denoising, yeah, it has denoise as well, yeah. But I was speaking more for photos, like for Lightroom photo editing. So for Topaz for photo editing, I was using it mostly for the denoising effect. For video, Topaz video is really impressive. It's been a while since I used it, to be honest, but I would use it whenever I needed to upscale my footage. So DaVinci can do it too, but my assumption still is that Topaz is a bit better for the quality retention. I use it for if I need to like have ultra slow motion. Let's say if I film something at 24 frames per second, and so I don't have the ability to slow it down any further without it turning choppy because I just don't have enough frames. You can use Topaz's interpolation software to basically turn your 24 frames per second and still end up getting really, really clean slow motion footage because it's like interpolating frames within your frames so that it has enough frames to be like 120 frames per second or something like that. So I still use that feature. And if you want that feature, I think Topaz is good for that. DaVinci Resolve photo page. Yes, like I said, though, I haven't really played with it too much. I used it briefly just to edit one photo. It's not even on here anymore. But I need to just watch some YouTube tutorials on this first before I feel comfortable with it. Because generally speaking, Lightroom is my go-to, right? Like I've already got my presets. If I'm editing photos, I just jump through all of them so I can get a good sense of like what style I want. It's just like baked into my DNA now in terms of like, okay, how do I edit my shots? So, but it would be fun. I think even for like a stream content, right? For all of you photographer, videographers out there, I will dedicate some time to edit those. All right, so very, very quickly, let me just see where we left off, which photos we have left to edit. So these were some of the photos we edited in the previous streams. This is from my second trip to Mongolia. I was supposed to go there to catch the Pallas cat, but ultimately I ended up only... we spotted it one time really far away, but we spent a lot of time photographing the Mongolian camels, which, to be fair, they are super photogenic because they have the double humps and they have like super thick fur. So it's fun to edit with because you can like, you know, if you have light bouncing off of it, you get some nice texture. Too Spicy asked, could rate it out of 10? Yeah, I'll do that for sure. I want to do some proper comparison. Maybe I'll do that for like next week or something. I have a question. Can we make a living out of photo editing? Ooh. I think technically yes. Like I imagine if you go to websites like Fiverr or Upwork, you can always offer your services as like an editor. And yeah, so it could be like a nice little freelance thing. I've never considered that. I mean, it's an interesting thought. If you just need like a little bit of, yeah, it could be something of use. Actually, you know what? Maybe I should. I'm gonna research that. Thank you for the question because that's giving me some thoughts. Because if it doesn't take too much time out of my my routine, and if I market myself for that, and if I have a few people reaching out and be like, hey, can you edit this photo for me? I'm like, well, I'm in front of my computer. It'll take me like all of 5 seconds. Upwork photo editor. So the other thing I was going to say to Spicy is I assume you could make a living out of it in the same way that you have people who are professional colorists, right? So not that I know much about that world, but people do make a living being known and studying the art of color grading, right? Now that's usually for video, And so usually with video, you might be working on like big productions or like film crews or studios. So then there's actual budgets that then they allot someone to do the coloring. So I think that one's a bit more justified to pay someone to do like the edit of your video in terms of like colors and such. Whereas with photography, it's a little bit harder to sell your services to someone if your job is only to edit the photos. You got to be really damn good, I guess. I think I would put my hat on myself that I am pretty decent with my, or I appreciate my style of photo editing, but I also don't do anything crazy. You know what I mean? I'm not like someone who uses Photoshop and I'm like knowing how to do all these custom crazy Photoshop related things. I just know, I think I'm above average when it comes to what is a good composition, what can give some nice aesthetics, like aesthetic vibes. Yeah, like those are the areas I think I'm above average at. So, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough to sell your services. So thank you for thank you for asking, because now I'm like, you know what? Maybe tomorrow I'm gonna look into that. Can I just like put myself out there? Because I do have a good body of work, right? I have a decent number of like my top photos I've ever edited that I can just show as examples. And if anything, that could be a nice way to promote my presets, right? Because I do sell my presets online, which also, if you're interested, you should definitely check out. Actually, let me put that in there. Exclamation mark presets. Yes, there it is. So if you are someone who's looking to improve the craft of, you know, photo editing, feel free to purchase my presets. I put it on my website so you can actually see the effects of my presets on a number of my own photos. So for example, this was a shot from Madagascar of some dude running in this one of those like kind of dirt road tunnels, which is super aesthetically exciting. Like when I'm traveling, I always look for these kind of shots where you've got a long tunnel made by the tree canopy and a dirt road. So this guy happened to just be running there. I captured him in the middle of it. And so you can see my preset effects across it. And then you can actually see some before and afters. So you have a good sense of like my style. Man, this website took me like, did it take me like 3 months to make with a lot of ChatGPT prompting a year ago before it got even better. Like I'm sure now it must be so much easier to make websites, but holy crap, as someone who's not good technically at anything to do with coding or whatever, this was I lost at least 2 to 3 years out of my life just from this, like, suffering through this, stressing out. I've cursed more than I've ever cursed at anyone, I lost count how many times I was so angry at ChatGPT. I'm literally just cursing, spewing all kinds of profanity at ChatGPT and basically saying, you need to apologize right now. I never did that, but like basically extracting an apology from something that doesn't feel, but that's how upset I was. Anyways, so yeah, feel free. And I do have a bonus preset, so you can download free presets. I forgot, I should promote this more. You just got to give me your name and your email and it'll email you the free presets. So anyways, anywho, Two Spices, good work on the website. Thank you very much. It was a labor of, I can't say love, but it was something. All right, so usually what I do is as I'm editing, I do like to watch some YouTube videos, usually around like behind the scenes of films or anything about videography, video editing techniques, camera stuff, anything that I feel like is actually productive to my pursuit. So we'll watch that as I edit. Let me just kind of go through and remind myself where I stopped. What was the last photo I edited? I think it was this one, actually. Yeah, so it's this one. So let's keep going. I'm going to edit the next one. Let me shrink this guy a bit. And then let's see what YouTube video we have lined up. The Dark Knight Rises closed an era nobody wanted to end. Okay, this is from our boy, our very own boy, Kolo Kino. I like this guy a lot. We've been watching a lot of his behind the scenes stuff. So let's see the making of The Dark Knight Rises. I didn't like this movie too much, to be honest. I think that's like a common I think most people agree Dark Knight Rises not so good compared to, you know, the first two. But oh yeah, and then we learned something. What do? I right click twice, go to picture in picture, so then I can just have this overlaid. Boom. All right, here we go.
This
Oh, I
is the
remember.
story of how Christopher Nolan.
I think wasn't this Heinz Ward? I haven't watched football in years, sadly. I used to be super into football. I was a two-time fantasy football champion. Not to brag, but damn, I don't know anything about football these days. But I seem to remember like one of the behind-the-scenes fun facts was I think Heinz Ward was the actual guy here.
Nolan made The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yeah, there it
which
is.
is to
Heinz Ward.
say, the story of how he tried not to make it.
The challenge for me was to really figure out the reason to take another trip to Gotham City and to invite the audience to take that with us.
It's 2009. The Dark Knight is nominated for 8 Oscars, but the Academy declines to nominate it for Best Picture.
That's so crazy.
Comic book movies never get nominated. How can $1 billion be unsophisticated?
I mean, here's a guy who
That
put
is
together
so
this
true.
event.
Good 20s you had, yeah. Good 20s you had. What was my 20s? Good 20s. Sorry, I'm not getting the reference. I missed something there.
Movie raised the bar of comic book films. The entire genre is in a whole new place thanks to him and his entire team and all these nominations, but none for the director. It makes no sense.
The snub is so loud that the Academy changes its own rules the following year and expands the Best Picture field from 5 films to 10.
Because when Dark Knight did not get nominated in 2008, that was a huge problem.
By any honest measure, Christopher Nolan has just made the best superhero film ever made.
Look, listen.
So naturally, Warner Brothers calls him about a third one, but Nolan respectfully declines.
He's such an inventive writer. He doesn't like to go back over old material.
He has a question he likes to ask anyone who brings it up. How many
I kind of agree. I feel like Christopher Nolan should have only made 2 movies. It's like, why follow up on The Dark Knight? That was damn near perfect. And in my opinion, Dark Knight Rises had way too many weird like plot holes and weirdness to it that it's like, I don't know. Good 20s you had, yeah. Oh, sorry, I get it now. I don't know why I didn't get that the first time. You said you were in your 30s. After hearing your story, I feel you enjoyed your 20s. Yes, thank you. Thank you for assuming that. I enjoy every year of my life. It's definitely genuinely been one of those where like every year tops the next. With each year, what did they say? More money, more problems, right? There's a lot of truth to that. Not even on the money part, but just like every year comes more challenges that I've had to face, right? Big and small, just new stuff. But with each of those have also come a higher capacity for reward and satisfaction. And not to say I've struck the mark each time on that satisfaction and the reward, but it's been enough that I feel like, wow, I'm doing the right thing. I look back and I'm super happy with where I'm at. So, but I'm nowhere near the finish line. But yeah, every year has been a joy for sure. And I'm very lucky to have lived the life I've had. I did, I earned everything that I have. I'm definitely not someone who was born with the silver spoon. I had to really fight to do anything in my life. And make some decisions that most people would have been like scratching their head at. So like even moving to Dubai was such a confusing thing for all of my friends. Generally speaking, it's like, why are you going from San Francisco and moving to Dubai? But it was actually one of the best decisions of my life. And I went there because I knew I had a mission in mind, which is like I need to travel the world. I need to rescue a lot of the time that I was spending on my social life, which is not bad, but then point that inwards and use all that time to just being boring, like literally going to work, going to the gym, and then just spending the rest of my free time editing, learning how to do photography, blah, blah, blah. And it turned out really good. It's allowed a lot of cool opportunities. So no complaints here. But yeah. But thank you very much. Thank you.
Any good third movies in a franchise can you name?
It's really about, if you're going to go back and try and build on what you've done, you have to have somewhere to go. You have to have somewhere that you think will be related to what you've done, but will advance it somewhere else.
Nolan never planned to make a franchise. He built The Dark Knight so it could be the very last one he had to deal with.
You can look me in the eye and tell me you're sorry.
He's not doing it to make a bunch of money or to prove anything to anybody. And as popular as his movies are, he really just loves movies and makes them, I think, mostly for himself and his own joy.
But now the sequel had to happen.
Why?
And Warner Brothers had ideas. They wanted to
You moved to Dubai on work visa or what? It's through my company. I say my company, but through the company I work for. Because like you can't move to Dubai unless you have a work visa, basically. You can get like a residence visa, but it's through, what do they call it? You have to be sponsored by a company, basically. Now, I think you can technically just open up your own business license and then do it. But the point is, like, there's a lot of, it's not like the easiest to move to Dubai, or at least back then. But yeah, basically you get sponsored by a company, and then that takes you through the front door, and then you go from there.
digitally recreate Heath Ledger and use leftovers from the Dark Knight footage. Nolan said it would be insulting to Ledger's legacy.
I wanted to see what you'd do, and you didn't disappoint.
They suggested the Riddler instead.
It's a challenge.
After The Dark Knight, the head of Warner Brothers at the premiere said, "You got to do the Riddler. Leo is the Riddler." You know, saying to me, "You gotta tell Chris Leo is the Riddler." And I just, dude, that's not the way we work.
Look, it's backseat driving, right? You're looking at it. I think Chris understood that, and what Heath had done with that character. You didn't want to go anywhere near it. I sort of started to play with ideas about the Riddler and what could be done with that character, but it did feel like it was close enough to the space of what we'd done with Heath.
Nolan refused for 3 years until he found the way in. It turned out the last installment needed Sylvester Stallone.
What?
All you had to do was ask.
You know, the dirty little secret of The Dark Knight Rises is it's kind of modeled after Rocky III.
I can't break your spirit. I sure enough can break your back.
Oof.
I don't know what do you say to something like this?
A retired champion.
I'm gonna admit something, okay? Thank you very much. Too Spicy he says, "All right, brother, I gotta go. Bedtime. It was nice meeting you." Thank you very much. I appreciate you hopping in here. I hope you liked what you see. I hope you liked what you saw. There you go. English. And then yeah, I hope to see you again. I'll be streaming probably on Monday again. I've been aiming to do like the weekdays, basically. But thank you very much. I appreciate it, and have a good night. My dirty little secret. Sounds weird to say that. My admission is I don't think I've seen a single Rocky movie. I don't think I have. Like, I probably have seen bits and pieces of it on TV growing up, but I don't think I've ever watched a Rocky movie start to finish. Nor do I have any desire to at this point. I feel like that was like an era thing. Like, if I was growing up, I might have enjoyed it back then. But I just don't have, I have zero interest in watching it now. Which is unfortunate because I feel like that was like a cultural icon, right? It was a very iconic thing to grow up with. And I caught some of the references, but I thought that was all I needed. But anyways.
His mentor gives up on him. A new fighter shows up, bigger and stronger. They throw down, and the champ loses. Then he has to go rebuild himself before the rematch.
So what?
See, they needed a Clubber Lang, a guy who's just a brute. In the first 2 Batman pictures, Batman was the brute. He was winning intellectual battles by just punching ninjas and evil clowns in the face. But this time, they realized they needed a guy who could just kick Batman's ass.
We had never put Batman and Bruce Wayne up against a physical adversary, someone who could stand toe-to-toe with him in a physical sense and project a very genuine sense of physical threat that, you know, Batman might not actually survive the conflict with this person.
I just remember saying, "Well, is Bane?" And he was like, "Oh, Bane, so cheesy. I don't know."
I think Chris was initially horrified, and I said, hold on. This will be the Nolan version of Bane.
Nolan thought Bane was a joke. The last time he had appeared on screen, he was in a wrestling mask.
mean, so much of that was Chris figuring out how to make Bane cool and not look like a WWF wrestler.
What I find frightening about Bane is I think in the real world, that's where true evil comes from. It comes from people who are convinced of the rightness of what they believe at the expense of all other ethical and moral considerations.
And of course, he had to find someone who would portray him that way.
When I thought about who could play that threatening a character using only his eyes and his voice, Tom, who I'd just worked with on Inception, seemed the natural choice.
And I knew that he's somebody capable of all sorts of different types of performances and physicality and so forth.
Man,
So,
Tom Hardy is so good as an actor. Man, it would be fun to do like a rating. I've never done one of those tier ranking system kind of things, but it'd be fun to rank the best actors of all time.
For me, it was more a question of calling up Tom and saying, look, there's two ways to go with this. We either hire just a physical performer and then put a voice on afterwards, or I try and get an actor like yourself to give an all-round, performance on set.
Chris actually called me when I was working in Vancouver on another film and said, Tom, I've got an idea, but I'm not sure if it's something you'd be interested in because it's going to demand you to wear a mask for 6 months. And I said, let me get it straight. You want me to come away and work with you around the world, and I have the use of an entire stunt team and as many weapons as I want, and all I have to do is wear a mask. Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, I'm in. Absolutely.
So when Tom agreed to do it, I was delighted. I mean, he's a very unique performer in that regard, that he'll take on a challenge like that.
Tom Hardy was the most physically intimidating actor Nolan had recently worked with. In Bronson, Hardy was pure physical menace. In Warrior, he was an MMA fighter with a broken heart. Mix them both together and you've got Bane.
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
Then he slapped on 30 pounds of muscle in 3 months. Heavy lifting and a whole lot of pizza.
Talked about the fact.
Heavy lifting and a whole lot of steroids is, I think, what he meant to say.
That he didn't really want Bane to be, a Mr. Universe, have this beautiful body. He wanted him to look like big, tough, almost like a circus strongman.
He was supposed to look like a brawler, like Bartley Gorman.
He said, come saddle for me, the middle Weinstein. For the brown one is not speedy on.
Now, I assume you don't know this guy. I mean, he's not exactly your regular late-night show guest. But over in the UK, he's practically a celebrity. This bloke was an illegal bare-knuckle boxing champion. His real-life nickname was the King of the Gypsies. Hardy's Bane is an almost carbon copy of this guy.
Snatch.
The way he moves, the way he fights, and most importantly, that bizarre voice.
And he said, when I get into a ring with a man, and he wants to wipe me off the face of the earth, and he wants to kill me.
When I get men in front of me, they try to kill me. They try to wipe me off the face of the earth.
And then I showed Chris, I said, Chris, we can either go down a just neutral tone villain voice, or we could try this, but we could get laughed out of the park with it. It might be something that we regret. He goes, no, I think we'll go with it.
It's an extremely peculiar take on what that voice would be. But once you've heard it for 5 minutes or so, it becomes essential to the character.
And now people laugh at it.
Nolan completed the cast with people he already trusted. Along with Tom Hardy, there was Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
And when you work with somebody as talented as Joe or Tom, you want to repeat that experience. And that's why I've worked with Christian on 4 different films. I've worked with Michael Caine on 5 different films. You really, in a selfish way, when you work with talented people, you just want to keep using them, keep bringing them into things.
And then Marion Cotillard as Miranda Tate. This is starting to look like an Inception sequel.
Admit it.
Anne Hathaway was the one new face Nolan auditioned cold.
Oh, cool. I forgot she was in this movie. Okay, so, because I know she's in The Odyssey. So I guess she worked with Nolan before. Gotcha.
Rumors that Chris was considering a new female character, and then it was, okay, so he's gonna meet with a couple girls, and then he told me what the character was, and then it was whether or not you were gonna be one of the girls invited to screen test. So it was a 3.5-month process.
And then just showed immediately that she understood the largeness of performance, the theatricality that had to be there when the costume was on.
Because Michelle Pfeiffer's performance is so iconic, you just don't think that opportunity will ever come up again. And the fact that it did while I was the right age, it's kind of mind-blowing. So by the time I got it, it just seemed like it couldn't possibly happen. I mean, I'd loved the character since I was a little girl, and it just didn't seem possible that it would be a reality in my life. And so then when I did get it, and then I went to set, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had working on a movie. It was just, I mean, it's still very, very pinch yourself territory.
The script was finished using Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities as a spine. I guess Nolan figured, if you're gonna rip off Rocky III, you gotta balance it out with a little classic literature.
Yeah, absolutely.
The class war, the storm on the prison, the tribunal, even the funeral speech from the finale are straight from the novel.
It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known.
Once we'd really figured out where our story went, where it wound up, what Bruce's conclusion is in a sense, then it became something I had to do and really wanted to show to the world.
Right, and I think one of the things I was excited about with The Dark Knight Rises was, okay, if you did this, you know, this kind of urbane crime drama for the second film. The third one was, and we sort of find ourselves back in this space, it was a post-apocalyptic film.
And so shifting genre and shifting the nature of the antagonist felt the way to take the audience on a different journey and tell them something different about Bruce Wayne.
So Nolan finally had everything to finish the trilogy. But it's a third movie, so it's a given that everything had to be bigger and louder. He starts in the sky. He gets a real airplane flying in the air. It sounds like a proper place for a plane, but it's not when we talk about movie making.
It was pretty intense to shoot. We tried to do as much of it in camera as possible. We were up in helicopters filming in a fuselage of a plane hanging from a heavy lift helicopter, stunt guys on the side of it and everything. I found it pretty thrilling, actually, and it's one of the great privileges of my job, really, that you get to sit there with your writing partners and come up with something outlandish and then spend months planning it with great stunt coordinators, special effects guys, and then you actually get to go up in a helicopter and see these amazing things take place in front of you.
Now, you can't just drop an airplane fuselage on people's houses, so Nolan has to write a polite letter to the Scottish government, asking for permission to drop an aircraft out of the sky onto their beautiful rolling green hills.
I think one of the really important visual elements of the sequence is
Damn, I didn't know it was a real...
And Kevin Delanoy, our line producer, fought very hard to get us to shoot in Scotland.
I suggested Scotland because of knowing the low cloud and the whole thing with planes, that their movement through clouds works very effectively.
Then they fly the crew to India, because Bruce Wayne gets his back broken by the king of the gypsies, and he's stuck in this terrible underground prison called the Pit. This pit is actually 3 different places stitched together. They got a soundstage for the inside.
The tube, the shaft they climb up, we actually built that. Those are the kind of things people don't normally do as any kind of set. And so there are ways you can push the boundaries of what sets can do.
For the outside, they use a 15th century fortress. And for the spiraling stairs, they go to an 8th century, 13-store deep step well in a tiny Indian village. But they gotta shoot the city scenes. The movie is trying hard to be elsewhere, but the main action is on the streets of Gotham. In the last movie, they used Chicago, but they shot almost every corner of it. So now they go to Pittsburgh. Don't get me wrong, I love the accent, but the question is, why Pittsburgh?
We got the best restaurants in Pittsburgh. We got Olive Garden and then all them fancy restaurants up on Mount Washington.
The answer is one specific building. See, there's this old hockey stadium, the Civic Arena. It's 50 years old, and it's scheduled to be demolished that summer. Nolan blew up a real building for The Dark Knight. The man seems to love destroying municipal property, so he moves his production to Pennsylvania just so he can blow up this one hockey rink. But the demolition gets tied up in a lawsuit. Producer Thomas Toll, who happened to co-own the Pittsburgh Steelers, offered Nolan Heinz Field instead.
I think when we first stood in the football stadium and thought about it, I saw a lot of blank looks in terms of people saying, well, there's no way to do any of this for real, so where do you even start? We have to be coming here for a reason. If we do everything with visual effects, we could just be shooting in a parking lot somewhere and putting it all in, and the audience will feel that. Obviously, I challenge everybody to put as many real elements of that frame as possible, from the dirt flying in the air to the guys falling in the holes.
Heinz Field, August 2011.
Oh my god, this is so exciting. I can't believe I've never seen this. This is actually so fascinating how they did how they shot this.
90 degrees outside. They pack 11,000 extras into the stadium.
We were hoping to maybe get 10,000 people, but I think we had near 11,500 people.
11,000 unpaid extras, I might add. And because it's a winter scene in the movie, they make them all wear heavy winter coats. They've been there since dawn, just baking in the sun. All because Tom Hardy is about to walk out to the 50-yard line and blow the field to smithereens.
That's so
I
cool.
wanted everyone in a football stadium at this moment of Bane taking over the city because it's a place of enormous collective vulnerability. It's one of the few places in American contemporary culture in which these people go together to be with 30 or 40 or 50,000 other people to have a collective emotional experience.
They even get Bill Cowher, the real-life Steelers coach. He gives a big speech to the crowd like it's a high school pep rally. Then Hines Ward, a legendary Steelers wide receiver, sprints across the grass through explosive charges, and the field comes apart behind him right on cue.
And I haven't ran a kickoff return probably in 14 years.
Meanwhile, outside the stadium, they got the rest of the city covered in fake snow.
The one big advantage we had was the snow. As a piece of visual continuity, it helps enormously when, Bane literally kicks Batman from Wall Street in New York to the Mellon Institute in Pittsburgh. What a big kick. You have to believe in that geography, and the snow in the air was a big help in that.
There's Batman's new flying machine driving through downtown traffic on the back of a flatbed truck.
A fully articulated Batman in the cockpit that would turn his head and blink his eyes and move his hands and operate the controls.
It's a big piece of machinery. He's nearly 30 foot long and 70.
You have to articulated Batman in the cockpit that would turn his head and blink his eyes.
Oh, that was a robot. That's so crazy.
Eyes and move his hands and operate the controls.
It's a big piece of machinery. He's nearly 30 foot long and 17 foot wide.
Wonderful full-scale bat that we mounted on top of a truck and drove around the streets of Pittsburgh and the streets of LA.
But the truck driver loses control and smashes this multi-million-dollar bat squarely into a huge lighting rig.
Oof.
The whole production has to shut down for days just to glue the damn thing back together.
Wow. That is definitely going to cost some money.
I wonder what happens in a scenario like that. Do you end up firing the driver? Because I'm assuming everything's insured, but yikes. Hold on, let's see.
Full-scale bat that we mounted on top of a truck and drove around the streets of Pittsburgh and the streets of LA.
But the truck driver loses control and smashes this multi-million-dollar bat squarely into a huge lighting rig. The whole production has to shut down for days just to glue the damn thing back together.
Wow. That is definitely going to cost some money.
They get over 1,000 extras. They take over a whole city block in the financial district for 3 days.
We really looked back to the silent era of motion pictures. Those guys really knew how to create production value and scale from just crowds of people. And it's something that...
It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but I don't know. I don't... I have to remind myself, at the end of the day, it is a comic book movie, right? So it's like, it's really only up to me, or it's no one else's fault if I take it too seriously. But it's Christopher Nolan, and he definitely raised the bar, so it's his fault too, really. But I don't know, there's too many like cheesy moments in Dark Knight Rises. Like even that fight scene at the end, it was like so cheesy in so many different capacity, but also like when you see them fighting, it didn't feel real. It's like a lot of like, just pushing and shoving and not didn't feel like an actual war. It just felt like two, rival high school gangs punching each other.
Really has not been done in a long time. So it raised a few eyebrows in a logistical sense.
It's absolute chaos. A giant brawl. Hundreds of makeup artists and stunt guys running around in shifts to keep this mob organized.
It was a huge amount of effort for the ADs, for the costume department, trying to get 1,000 people ready for the stunt department, to be able to train that many people to fight convincingly, which is a very, very difficult thing to do. It was a very interesting moment for me when we first brought all of the police out. I had a lot of pressure on me in terms of, do you really need this many people, et cetera, et cetera. And I looked at them lined up and I said to Brandon, second AD, and gosh, it's not really enough. And then somebody said, oh, actually, that's just half of them. So I said, thank goodness. I was very relieved because it meant two things. You know, it meant we had enough people to make the scene look great. It also meant we really did need those people.
And somewhere in the middle of all this madness, Anne Hathaway crashes the Batpod directly into a $500,000 IMAX camera.
Oh.
Nobody was hurt, thank goodness. But the camera was unrecoverable. If you add up all the IMAX cameras destroyed across his movies, you start to realize that for a guy who spends half his life talking about how much he loves IMAX, he sure seems to enjoy murdering these cameras that shoot it.
Very much. Yeah.
For the score, Zimmer asked Nolan if the prisoners could have a chant.
At some point, he said to me that he wanted to use voices in the score, which for a director is quite a frightening thing to hear because you immediately imagine sort of big choirs and whatever. We sat with Paul Jack, the dialect coach, and said, okay, can you look into various languages, Mongolian and so forth, and look at words of encouragement in the specific sense of the escape attempt, but then also have a revolutionary idea.
Nolan sent Zimmer 2 words, Deshi Basara. Now, I don't know what that means. Nobody knows what it means. Hans Zimmer goes around telling people, well, Dessa means rise up. Rise up in what language, Hans?
You guys will tell me.
Zimmer wanted hundreds of thousands of voices on the track.
Until I suddenly realized it's really hard to find hundreds of thousands of people.
So they built a website where anyone in the world could record themselves chanting Deshi Basara and upload it.
The way these 2 movies have infiltrated our culture, it just felt like fun to cross the borders between reality, our Gotham, and the reality of the fans. And just so I thought, let's just invite them in on the internet to be part of the fabric of the movie.
And the internet loves it. The servers completely crash in the first week. Think about the sheer absurdity of it. Christopher Nolan spent 3 years trying not to make this movie, and now it's so anticipated that you have 180,000 total strangers in 107 different countries, sitting all alone in dark bedrooms, just screaming Deshi Basara into their laptops.
Deshi Basara, Basara! I don't remember any of this.
The Dark Knight Rises opened on July 20th, 2012. In a midnight screening in Aurora, Colorado, a gunman opened fire on the audience. 12 dead, 58 injured. Warner Brothers canceled the international premieres and pulled the marketing. 4 days later, Christian Bale flew to Colorado on his own to visit the survivors at the medical center of Aurora. The film opened anyway. Christopher Nolan may not have wanted to make this movie, but after he did, Nolan left behind the best superhero trilogy of all time.
All right. Not bad. 730 ways to get some from our boy Casey Neistat. Neistat? Does he ever say his name? Because I always say it wrong. I don't know. Neistat.
Brad, how you doing? Good to see you. Oh man. Get some. It's a big day. Get some. I feel all right. Get some. Get some. Yeah, yeah. Get some. Get some. Come on. Come on. Hey, keep it going. Dad, give it to me. For 730 consecutive days. That's the man behind the camera. Get some! Get some! Get some! Ha ha! Are you kidding me?
Today is my 2-year anniversary of never missing a day of running.
Yep.
This is the guy. This is the reason why I started running every day.
That.
I like that opening a lot. Let me take a note from that. I like the opening when talking about doing something for a long, consistent time. Maybe can use something similar for my 41 days of live streaming in a row type video. Okay. Some inspirations there.
The biggest learning for me over the last 730 days of running every day is that doing the thing, my thing is running, but this applies to anything, this is universal. Doing the thing every day is easier than not doing the thing every day. Let me explain. By default, the thing is difficult, and if every day begins with, should I do it today? Yes or no. It means every day begins with rationalizing. Do I feel like doing it? Because I did it yesterday, and I'm probably gonna do it tomorrow. And it's definitely okay if I don't do it. And honestly, today is just not my day. All this rationalization is a permission structure to say no. How many days in a row have you been running?
3,304 consecutive.
And this is why just doing it every day is easier. You skip all the considerations of should I or shouldn't I, and the answer is easy. It's always yes. Okay, why did you start running every day?
Okay, so I got to a point in life where nothing was really working out, and I was really tired of it. My professional dream to be a soccer player went to crap. That's a long story.
Okay.
Talk about it another day. And I started being envious of my friends. Like, they were getting a job out of college, and I started losing my joy for life. So I got to a point where it was literally looking at yourself in the mirror moment. And stop making excuses. What can you do that you can hold yourself accountable? And I went out there and I enjoyed myself. I'm like, oh, this is not bad. I love this. I love that I'm in control and I'm holding myself accountable. And it was supposed to be every day for a year, and then that turned into 9+, and we're still going.
Side note, we're getting to probably one of the best photos I took from this trip. I say best is a weird word, but one of my favorite, because we had this lone subject, the horse, nice and fluffy, and it looks like it's like an emo horse because it's got somehow the hair is dyed basically like an emo girl. I don't even know if emo is the right word, but I feel like, yeah, gothic maybe. So anyways, it got a hairstyle going, almost perfectly looking straight at the camera, not moving. It's nice and sharp. And we've got this beautiful backdrop. We've got the textures from the mountains, like a massive wall behind the horse. The foreground is nice and soft, not much texture there. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun one to edit, I think. We'll see.
I'm so sick of hearing people talking about running. Running every day is a silly thing. It's my thing, but it's a silly thing. This idea of accountability, though, that is not a silly thing. That's a real thing. I think accountability is one of the things that really unlocks a sense of fulfillment in life. So I have a friend who's sober. Used to have a drinking problem, been sober for more than a decade. And he said to me one of the things that really, really landed with him was that when he first started going to meetings, somebody said to him, when you commit to sobriety, it means never having to make a decision of, am I gonna drink today? And that's a very serious, that's a very real, that's a very not silly version of what accountability means. And that's why this idea of every day of accountability, it's universal.
Yeah, this is called improvising.
This is called getting the shot at all costs.
Yeah. That is hilarious.
You know, my sister is a nutritionist. And she, I think this was 2 years ago, she decided I'm done with sugar.
Okay.
And it's completely changed her life.
See.
But it's every day. There's no exception.
Yes.
Okay, I'm making a movie about consistency. Can I ask you questions about why you, about giving up sugar?
Yes.
Okay, so why not just have a cheat day where you get to have sugar 1 or 2 days a week?
I experimented with all different kinds of moderation, including cheat days, including cheat meals, just having it once a week, just having it once a day. I have tried every combination. And what I found is that the way that sugary, hyperpalatable foods lit me up, I was never able to stick to my moderated plans. I always wanted more. It was like a drug.
Do you think it's easier that you do it every day versus when you tried to do it like every couple days a week or whatever?
Absolutely.
What are the rules? What are your rules? Like what?
Yes.
My favorite part of every day is that you get to write your own rules.
Yes.
Like no,
I love
you're
that.
holding yourself
Let's shake
accountable.
hand on that.
You're
I
holding
love
yourself
that
accountable.
Your own rule. I think that's very important because we can't gatekeep and we can't be like, oh, this is in order to be a run streak. No, my rule was in the beginning, 10 minutes a day. I end up going just over a mile.
Okay.
And then it ended up being as I got comfortable with it. No matter what, minimum has to be 5K or 3 miles.
Okay.
But average has been over 7 miles a day.
Look how cute she is. Okay, and then what are your rules? Because like an apple has sugar in it.
I had to figure out what really works for me, so I would never say no to any type of natural sugar, and that is apples, sweet potatoes, beets, even dairy has natural sugar in it. I don't worry about that.
What about ketchup?
For added sugar. Ketchup is a little bit of a gray area for me. I do buy the sugar-free ketchup, which has Splenda in it.
Okay. That's the thing about accountability is that the rules, they're self-determined. They're your rules. You make them up, and then you have to hold yourself to those rules. My everyday thing, my rule is I have to do a minimum of 2 miles a day. My average over the last 730 days has been 7.2 miles, but my rule is 2 miles a day. And the one day I thought I was gonna break the rules, whoa, you guys are going so fast. Okay, this is like a year and a half ago. This was the day I thought I was gonna break my streak because it went like this, okay? Friday, I ran in the morning, we left New York, fly. Saturday, we arrive in the London airport at like 7 in the morning and then leave the airport at like noon. Do you see it, Georgie?
Yes,
it's a big one. And then arrive in Cape Town on Sunday, and then I'd run on Sunday. So where in here could I run? I had like a 3-hour, 4-hour layover in the airport, and I was like, there's just no way.
Mommy, look up.
I remember we were like sitting around getting food, and I said to Candace, I was like, watch the kiddos, I'll be back in like 25 minutes. And then I found a tunnel where they like moved the garbage under the airport, and I just ran back and forth until I got to like 2.3 miles. Streak maintained.
That's like proper commitment.
Living the dream. Living the dream. Remember what is life. Come on.
Man, Casey is definitely such an inspiration. So, and also, I need to take notes in general because like the fact that he make these nice videos, it's a comfortable 8-minute length, and in that he's got a proper story in there, a really nice opening, puts it to a nice closing. So there's a lot of notes I need to take just on this.
Okay. All right. Awesome. This is helpful. I'll call you back because I got to talk to you about Dad.
Bye.
Hey, congratulations. Come on, guys. And what are you doing tomorrow?
I'm running.
Just keep going. Yes, sir.
Very good. Very, very cool. Man. Casey Neistat. Nice stat.
David Fincher's most known film is undoubtedly
All right, this photo's coming together nicely. We're making some progress here.
Fight Club, which I haven't seen.
What?
And I already know I need to fix that at some point. I knew Fight Club's a popular film, the definition of a cult classic, but I had no idea what I was getting into, if I'm being honest. The only two things I'd ever heard about it beforehand were the first 2 rules of Fight Club and the name Tyler Durden. I usually do some research after watching whatever movie it is I'm covering. I want to know general production information as well as what the general consensus is and what other people took from it. After about 5 minutes of research though, I realized something. I'm in a rare situation where my opinion on this film hasn't been tainted by general consensus, and my thoughts on the themes presented haven't been influenced. so why not keep that fresh perspective? This platform already has a ton of videos of people giving their own thoughts after years of existing in an echo chamber of like-minded fans. So if I can, I'd like to offer something new. The downside of going for a fresh perspective though is that I'll likely miss things or maybe even get stuff wrong. I apologize for that in advance, and be sure to let me know about stuff I missed.
I don't understand. He's saying
All that being said, it's been 25 years since the release of...
I'm so confused. He's saying he hasn't seen this movie, but he's talking about why it's a masterpiece? Hold on. Here's the Promised Fight Club video. Okay, I'm assuming he's saying he has watched it now.
The Fight Club. In the year 2024, by sheer influence alone, this film has earned its role as a cult classic. That isn't up for debate. However, for a new generation, does it still belong in conversations as one of the greatest films to ever exist? Or has its legacy been exaggerated? Let's find out. Fight Club is based on the 1996 book by the same name, written by Chuck Palahniuk. The screenplay for the film was done by Jim Mules, and it was directed by David Fincher. The movie begins with a highly stylized credit sequence, and the transition into the opening scene is seamless. Immediately, we're introduced to the primary method employed to tell this story, narration, and how you feel about this will drastically change your opinion on the film. In fact, narration plays such a big role in this story that our protagonist isn't even given a name. Edward Norton is simply credited as the narrator. Personally, I'm not usually a fan of narration. However, this movie is a major exception.
Wait, he doesn't have a name? Who am I thinking of? Tyler Durden? Fight Club main character name Tyler? Tyler Durden? Durden. The narrator's real name is Tyler Durden. Oh, because that was Brad Pitt's name. Gotcha. Okay. Wow, I didn't realize.
Firstly, since it's based on a book written in the first person, knowing the main character's thoughts is essential to understanding the story. And the second reason I'm okay with the narration is because of the psychoanalytic nature of the plot. I'll touch on this more later, but beyond simply understanding the story, it's a story that can only be told if we are in the narrator's head. Another storytelling tactic employed here is shock value. To describe the narrative as a roller coaster would be putting it lightly. Every scene demands a reaction from the audience, and the opening scene is no different. In the first shot, the barrel of a gun is in the narrator's mouth. He then goes on to tell us that in 2 minutes, charges will go off that would demolish a dozen buildings, while also dropping a line that audiences will definitely not pick up on in their initial viewing.
I know this, because Tyler knows this.
Just after being introduced to this incredibly high-stakes situation, we're dragged into a completely different setting. A support group for men with testicular cancer. This isn't supposed to make sense yet. It's supposed to confuse the audience. The narrator even realizes this story doesn't make any sense, and just as soon as we're introduced to this setting, we're put in another one. The narrator has been suffering from insomnia for 6 months. He says nothing feels real, and mentions a seemingly random thought that whenever deep space exploration picks up, corporations will be naming galaxies and planets. While the way he says this makes it seem like he's against the idea, and consumerism as a whole, immediately after, he tells us he's addicted to IKEA catalogs. While he seems partially aware of the trappings of consumerism, he falls right into them anyway. And following this, we finally get the explanation of how he ended up at the support group. After making no effort to treat the narrator's insomnia, his doctor makes a joke about how the narrator isn't in real pain. The men with testicular cancer, though, that's real pain. So likely out of curiosity, the narrator decides to visit the support group. It's here where the narrator meets Bob. Bob used to be a bodybuilder, so he used steroids. After getting his testicles removed due to cancer, Bob begins hormone therapy. Because of the aforementioned steroids, Bob's hormones were all jacked up and he developed breasts. While this is mostly played for laughs, Bob's backstory is vital to the narrative. He serves as a personification of the primary themes of the film. The first line he says is him whimpering the phrase, "We're still men." This introduces us to his insecurity, and as we later find out, he isn't the only one who feels insecure in his masculinity. We'll talk about that more as those themes present themselves, though. For now, the narrator actually finds himself crying with Bob. As the narrator describes, he lets go. Strangely enough, this emotional release actually ends up curing his insomnia. This causes the narrator to become addicted to support groups. He starts going to different ones every single day just to help him sleep at night. This goes on for more than a year, until one day, Marla shows up. Marla is basically doing exactly what the narrator is, jumping around from support group to support group despite not suffering from any of the diseases. This forces the narrator to confront the lie he's been spinning to the other members, and he finally feels some guilt about what he's been doing. Because of this, he can no longer feel anything at these groups. He can't let go, and so he can't sleep. Instead of finding a normal hobby like making film reviews and video essays on the internet, the narrator decides to confront Marla. The two decide to split up the support groups, and this is one of the funniest scenes in the movie. In fact, now's a good time to talk about the comedy. I was genuinely surprised how funny this movie was. I didn't have any idea it was a comedy going into it, but I found myself laughing all throughout.
We each have 3. That's 6. What about the 7th day? I want ascending bowel cancer.
The girl had done her homework.
No, I want bowel cancer.
After coming to an agreement on how to split up the support groups, the two exchange numbers. Marla asks for the narrator's real name, since he uses a fake one in each support group. Before he answers her though, the scene cuts to a montage of the narrator flying into different cities every day for work. He's a recall coordinator for a major automotive company. He applies a formula to see whether the company should initiate a recall or not. And this can be a very demanding job. Not just physically with the constant travel and jet lag, but also mentally. He has to look at corpses constantly and apply human lives as statistics. If initiating a recall is more expensive than the probable cost of an out-of-court settlement, then his company won't do one. This again touches on the already prevalent theme of corporate greed and the resulting dehumanization. While the narrator seems to feel indifferent about this, I don't think it would be a stretch to say that this is a possible cause for his insomnia. Obviously, the frequent jumping between time zones and constant flights don't help, but the emotional suppression he undergoes to simply do his job is likely why he needed the support groups in the first place. He had no emotional release. He could never let go. And at this point, all this pent-up angst is at an all-time high.
Oxygen gets you high. In a catastrophic emergency, you're taking giant panic breaths. Suddenly you become euphoric, docile. You accept your fate.
This is Tyler Durden, soap salesman, and one of the most well-written characters in fiction. He's charismatic, skeptical, and full of information that's not quite true. He says they put oxygen masks on planes in order to get the passengers high so that they accept their fate, and he gives a recipe for napalm. Neither of these things are true, but he delivers the information in such a way that still makes you think. Brad Pitt does an incredible job in this role. He brings one of the most dynamic and interesting characters I've ever seen to life in a believable way. Tyler and the narrator are seated next to each other on a plane, where Tyler gives him his business card. After the plane lands though, the narrator's luggage is taken to the police since it was vibrating, and it's never returned to him. To make matters worse though, upon arriving home, the narrator's apartment appears to have exploded. Having lost his home and all his belongings in a single night, he's left with nothing. All that's left is his suitcase and the business card he received on the plane. He decides to call Tyler and the two go out for drinks. During this conversation, the narrator goes in detail about his shopping addiction. He says he was close to being complete. He defined himself and his worth by the possessions he had. He bought into the corporate myth that materialism will make him happy. And Tyler's response to this explains his philosophy beautifully. Humans have been broken down by corporations from hunter-gatherers to consumers. We no longer have to concern ourselves with simple survival. In turn, we concern ourselves with celebrities, new technology, and name-brand clothes. And Tyler's tired of all this. We shouldn't strive for perfection by current societal expectations. Perfection in modern society is weakness. Rather, it is necessary to evolve. The narrator seems to sympathize with Tyler's point of view by the end of the conversation and agrees to stay at his house. But Tyler isn't done with his sales pitch yet.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
What?
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
We finally get some background on Tyler. He's what the narrator describes as a night person. He worked at night as a projectionist and banquet waiter. These jobs are simply a means to an end for him, though. That end being disrupting society in whatever way possible. He wants the narrator to hit him because he's never been in a fight before, and this is an interesting thought. Tyler says, how much can you know about yourself if you've never been in a fight? And this is an understandable sentiment. There's a famous Mike Tyson quote, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face." You can only know certain things about yourself, like how you respond in a stressful, potentially life-threatening situation once you're in it. Tyler follows up this line with another piece of insight.
I don't want to die without any scars.
This could be translated as, I don't want to die before I've even lived. In this comfortable society some find themselves in, it's easy to allow ourselves to be molded, to fit into our roles and play it safe, never doing anything to disturb our peace. And that's where these characters are, having lived such a mundane, routine experience that they never even gained anything to fight for. And that's what makes fighting so appealing. Through violence and physical pain, they finally are allowed to feel something. The scene is perfect. Every shot, line of dialogue, and expression is executed flawlessly. After their fight, Tyler and the narrator promise to do this again sometime. And it's needless to say that the narrator's found something to replace his support groups. The narrator decides to move in with Tyler, who lives in a dilapidated house on Paper Street. The two begin regularly fighting outside the bar, where they eventually attract the interest of even more people. And at this point, the fights are an addiction for them. Even when they aren't fighting, they talk about who they'd like to fight. The narrator plainly says that when he goes into work on Monday, all he can think about is next week's fight. And this scene makes it clear to us why fighting was the solution for Tyler and the narrator. There is, of course, the aforementioned reasons about it allowing them to feel something, to help them escape everyday life. But there's more to it than that. When talking about who they'd like to fight, Tyler mentions his dad. His dad set all these goals up for him, like going to college and getting a job, and this plays into the themes of escaping everyday life. After being railroaded into a certain lifestyle, Tyler finally wants to make decisions for himself. His dad did give him one more goal though, getting married. And both the narrator and Tyler's responses are noteworthy. The narrator feels he isn't prepared to get married, describing himself as a 30-year-old boy. And Tyler mentions how they were raised by women and still feel incomplete. So how would another woman fix that? Both are seemingly unique perspectives, but they come from one root cause. The narrator and Tyler feel like they're missing something they aren't receiving in their regular lives. In the narrator's case, it was so bad that it caused insomnia. Through fighting, Tyler and the narrator are figuring out their problem though. It's an insecurity in their masculinity. Both view being masculine as a vital part of their existence, but they weren't aware of that until recently. This is something they should have been taught by their fathers. Following the beaten path and submitting themselves to corporations has left them feeling frustrated, disillusioned, and discontent with life. And it's not just them. The growing popularity of this fighting ring is evidence that this emptiness is felt by the whole generation. In fact, there's so much support for this concept that the narrator and Tyler are given the basement of the bar to hold fights. And finally, they give this ring a name.
Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club.
The official formation of Fight Club marks a significant turning point in the narrator's life. He finally feels complete. We don't get any further updates on his life for presumably a few weeks. He does nothing but work and fight, and he's happy with this. That is until he receives a call from Marla. She's taken a dangerous amount of Xanax and is probably going to die. The narrator doesn't feel like listening to her talk and leaves the phone. As he walks away though, Tyler overhears her on the phone and heads over to her place to pick her up. This is where Tyler and Marla's relationship begins. The following morning, the narrator is confused as to why Marla's in his house and kicks her out. Tyler explains what happened, but strangely makes the narrator promise not to mention him in front of Marla. The narrator is clearly jealous since he apparently had a thing for Marla, despite the fact that he was completely okay with leaving her to die. This takes a toll on him, as up to this point he's somewhat managed to balance work and Fight Club. Now though, he's going to work a complete mess and is sent home. To make matters worse, he receives a call from the police informing him that his apartment was intentionally sabotaged. This doesn't really bother the narrator as much as you'd expect though. He's content in his new life, for the most part.
Like in Boy Scouts.
I can imagine you as a Boy Scout.
Keep stirring.
Tyler, in case you've forgotten, is a soap salesman. While the narrator helps him make soap, Tyler aims to teach him a life lesson. While yes, the narrator does enjoy Fight Club, he's still holding back. Tyler intentionally gives the narrator a chemical burn. The narrator's first instinct to the pain is to return to the meditation techniques he learned at the support groups. This is opposite to the lesson Tyler is trying to teach him. He wants the narrator to feel this pain, live in this moment, and be dragged down to his lowest point. Summarizing the lesson in
That actually would be what movie did we watch? Oh, no, we were watching Making of Memento, and I think they were mentioning how Christopher Nolan has a version of Memento you can watch in chronological order. Man, I wish it would have been so cool if they made a version of Fight Club from the perspective of an outsider, like basically without Brad Pitt. Like, I know they allude to it, they show a few scenes through like security cameras or things like that, or like flashbacks, but it'd be quite interesting if you could see like start to finish the entire movie in real life, kind of a thing, where you obviously can't see Brad Pitt or Tyler Durden, and how would each of those scenes play out in its entirety. That would be so fascinating for me.
a single line.
It's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything.
The narrator finally lets go and stops fighting Tyler, and only after this does Tyler offer the solution to ease the pain. This marks a significant shift in the narrator's mentality, and this is most evident in the following scene when the narrator is confronted about Fight Club by his boss. When Tyler had previously told the narrator what to say to the police officer on the phone, the narrator didn't listen. Now though, even the narrator recognizes that his response to his boss is as though it were Tyler's words coming straight from his mouth.
Cornelius!
Later that night, the narrator runs into Bob on the street and finds out that Bob's been coming to Fight Club during the week. Bob says that he's better than he's ever felt in his whole life. Due to Bob's situation, he felt insecure in his masculinity, Now, though, he feels he has a way to prove his masculinity. Bob's character serves as a personification of the primary theme of the film. Bob spent his life chasing a physique that was forced onto him by society at the time. In order to achieve this, he caused irreparable damage to his body. By joining Fight Club, though, he takes back his fate, no longer letting society dictate who he is. Bob represents the emasculation of society by consumerism, and his joining a Fight Club represents the hope that one can escape this fate. Due to the hope it provides, the narrator describes Fight Club as his and Tyler's gift to the world. And to these men, it truly is. At the next meeting, Tyler gives a speech that summarizes the purpose of Fight Club and the hope it provides. It's an escape for the so-called middle children of history, a way to vent out their frustration over the broken promises they've been given by Hollywood and advertisers. They were supposed to be movie gods and rock stars, but instead they work dead-end jobs with no hope beyond them. These men need Fight Club. A concerning pattern does begin to develop, though. The members of Fight Club regard Tyler as a legend. He is their leader. That's why when he gives them what he calls homework assignments, they comply with these without question. And these range from starting a fight with a stranger to vandalism. To make matters even worse, the narrator has a development of his own. He blackmails his boss into paying him without him needing to come into work anymore. Fight Club now has corporate sponsorship. Now they can host Fight Club every single night. This further indoctrinates the members of Fight Club, and the homework assignments escalate from vandalism to domestic terrorism.
Homework, sir. What kind of homework assignment?
Human sacrifice.
Hey, is that a gun? Please tell me that's not a gun.
Tyler holds a man at gunpoint and calls it a human sacrifice. The man's name is Raymond, and he's a cashier at a convenience store. Tyler takes his wallet and asks him what he wanted to be in life. Raymond responds that he wanted to be a veterinarian. Tyler tells him that he's keeping his license. He'll let Raymond go, but he's going to check on him in 6 weeks. If he isn't on his way to becoming a vet, Tyler will kill him. This scene comes seemingly out of nowhere. However, this is another vital piece to understanding the philosophy of this film. The frustration this generation, the middle children of history, feel is caused by the fact they feel they've been lied to, promised from a young age they could be whatever they wanted, when that simply wasn't the case. And while fighting and lashing out with acts of societal disruption can be a way to vent out these frustrations, it isn't a solution. So Tyler offers a different one to certain individuals. He offers them the opportunity to actually go and accomplish those dreams they had as a kid, to become what they wanted to be. Even the narrator is impressed by this, and this makes it clear to us why so many are willing to follow Tyler blindly. Because to a certain degree, he has a point and a plan.
Hey, Nala.
Tyler begins recruiting people and training them for an unknown purpose. Eventually, the narrator finds out, though. It's called Project Mayhem, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The members serve as agents of chaos, committing various acts of domestic terrorism across the city. While the members celebrate their work being broadcast on local news, the narrator is horrified. Still, he continues helping with these assignments. During the news broadcast, the police commissioner promises to begin an investigation into these attacks. Naturally, the next assignment is to scare him away from such an investigation, and this operation proves to us that this is a highly coordinated group. The police commissioner agrees to drop the investigation, but as the group is leaving, the narrator feels jealous that this guy called Angel Face is receiving praise from Tyler. So during his next fight, he beats him up without ever giving him a chance to concede the match. Afterward, the narrator and Tyler go for a drive. The narrator feels left out because he helped start Fight Club, but he wasn't even told about Project Mayhem. And again, Tyler makes a point about the narrator needing to let go through a painful lesson. He lets go of the steering wheel and demands the narrator do the same. It's here where Tyler confirms that he's the one who blew up the narrator's condo. This should have already been obvious to the audience at this point, but this isn't intended as a big twist. Rather, it serves as a misdirect. By making the audience feel as though they've already figured out a major plot twist, they're less likely to suspect another one, which is exactly what happens later on. For now though, both Tyler and the narrator let go of the wheel and allow the car to crash. The narrator is knocked unconscious, but is pulled out of the car by Tyler. We then hear Tyler monologue about his vision for a new world, which entails the complete collapse of modern society. Meanwhile, the narrator falls unconscious for an indiscernible amount of time. By the time the narrator wakes up, Tyler's gone. There's potentially hundreds of Project Mayhem members in the house working in unison, to the point that the narrator describes it as though the house itself had become a living thing. All of a sudden though, 2 members are carried inside with gunshot wounds, one of which is Bob, who was shot in the head. Now, if Bob's joining Fight Club was representative of the hope that he could escape his fate, his death represents that hope dying with him. This method of escape, this gift to humanity, had grown out of control and misguided this man to the point of death. The narrator feels guilty. After all, he did help start Fight Club. But while trying to gather an ounce of sympathy from the members of Project Mayhem, They instead begin chanting his name as though it were some kind of ritual. Meanwhile, the narrator finds plane tickets in Tyler's name. He visits each city to try and track down Tyler, and while he does find several fight clubs, he can't find Tyler. Eventually though, at one of the bars he stops at, he's recognized. He's recognized as Tyler Durden. Immediately he calls Marla, who he's been treating horribly throughout the course of the film due to him being jealous of Tyler. And during their conversation, she calls him Tyler Durden. And suddenly Tyler shows up to confirm the worst. The narrator and Tyler are one person with dissociative identity disorder.
Man, I get goosebumps even thinking about that. Like, that reveal was such a chill back then. Oof.
And this is why it's so important that we spend a majority of this story in the narrator's head. It drags us so deeply into his world that this reveal comes as a shock to us. The narrator created this alter ego in order to fix his life, and it's no coincidence that similar phrases are used to describe.
The only problem about this movie is not the movie itself, but it's the fact that since this movie, I feel like most other movies or shows can't use this trope anymore. Yes, Nala. Good girl. Good girl. Like, I feel like you can't have a plot twist where it's like, oh, it's just a figment of your imagination. It's you know, it's all in your head. Because after Fight Club, it feels like, yeah, it's like once the genie's out of the bottle, it feels weird for movies to use that as like the plot twist. In my opinion, I don't know.
Tyler and the narrator's father, like how Tyler's father abandoned him to set up franchises. The narrator's lack of a father figure is what led him down this path in the first place, and Tyler was meant to take on that role and fix everything. Tyler Durden is who the narrator wants to be. This is why Tyler repeatedly emphasized the narrator's need to let go, so that he can finally have complete freedom over the narrator's life. And slowly, he transforms more and more into Tyler Durden. Tyler's power over the narrator is so strong, in fact, that he simply wills himself into control over the narrator's body. Tyler wants to kill Marla since he thinks she knows too much. Meanwhile, the narrator slowly figures out what the end goal of Project Mayhem is. Before going to the police with this information though, he tells Marla that he loves her, but he needs her to leave town for her own safety. Eventually, she does agree to leave, and the narrator brings all the evidence of Project Mayhem to the police. Project Mayhem's goal is to blow up credit card company buildings in order to erase the debt record. This would create total chaos and eventually lead to the collapse of modern society. While at the police department though, the narrator is attacked by police officers who are also members of Project Mayhem. He escapes and runs to one of the buildings that's set to explode. He realizes that if Tyler knows how to deactivate the bombs, then so does he, tying back to the line from the first scene in the film.
I know this, because Tyler knows this.
He successfully deactivates the bomb, but is beat up by Tyler and knocked unconscious. The narrator begs Tyler to call this off, especially since he's brought in Marla in order to tie up loose ends. Finally though, the narrator realizes that he's the one in control. He takes the gun that's been in his hand this entire time and tells Tyler that his eyes are open. This is a callback to the chemical burn scene. He's no longer running from the pain. Instead, he takes control and stays in the moment. He shoots himself in the mouth, attempting to end both his and Tyler's life. Tyler dies, but miraculously, the narrator survives. Immediately after this, Marla is brought in, and she realizes that he wasn't lying when he told her he was involved in something dangerous. The bombs begin to go off while the two lock hands. Society is collapsing in front of them, and Tyler's dream of a new world is all but assured. Fight Club really stands in a class all its own. There was nothing quite like it before its release, and nothing quite like it has been made since. At least nothing that completely captures the essence of what makes Fight Club, Fight Club. And that's a very difficult thing to articulate. I found myself during the making of this video being asked several times, what's Fight Club about? And my response after just having seen the movie was, I honestly don't know. After a second and third viewing though, that's changed to how much time do you have? It really isn't something that can be easily explained. A genuine conversation about what Fight Club aims to achieve and the message it's trying to convey is longer than the film itself and is open to several different interpretations. For me personally, my take is this. The film is about the emasculation of men in modern society by consumerism and absent father figures. The solution this film is pushing isn't one of violent rebellion. Rather, this is an extreme example of taking back one's life. The actual solution to these problems falls more in line with the human sacrifices Tyler conducts. For men who feel lost in society though, it's important to reclaim their masculinity first, while also avoiding the trappings of those who claim to be able to help them with this. Otherwise, you go from being society's slave to the slave of a neurotic tyrant who preys on the weak. Fight Club was ahead of its time with its interpretation of lost men blindly following one who claims themselves to be a savior and a light for these ones. And that's what defines true art. It is timeless, open to interpretation, and not easily forgotten. Fight Club didn't do great at the box office, but 25 years later, it's safe to say it's reached the target audience, for better or for worse. Many of this film's detractors point to the fact that, due to the many possible interpretations of the film, it's easy to misconstrue the messaging into a dangerous philosophy. For example, some of those lost men mentioned earlier point to this film as a source for their toxic mindsets and misogynistic ideas. And I want to make it clear this is definitely not the film's intention, but to me, this is yet another aspect of the film that makes it so fascinating. True art should have a powerful effect on those who it reaches. At this point, this word is overused. It's become almost a buzzword when speaking of film, but I have no hesitation in calling Fight Club a masterpiece. A masterpiece cannot be replicated. It should leave a legacy, and it should move the viewer. And as mentioned previously, these are defining aspects of Fight Club.
All right. That was good. I liked it. Bunana man. What's next?
That rug really tied the room together, did it not?
The Zen acting of the Big Lebowski. What made the Big Lebowski such a relaxed production? Okay. Possibly.
Few.
Tenet, I'm not sure. Yo, what's happening, Swiss Army? How's it going, my friend? He says, howdy, y'all. Howdy back at you. How's it been? Happy Friday. Werner Herzog on shooting too much footage. I feel like this, I should probably watch this video, because I think yesterday I was talking about how I tend to shoot too much. I've been the type that just kind of overshoots, and my hope is that as I learn more about filmmaking, I'll course correct to be more intentional with this shooting. So yeah, I think we should watch this. Swiss Army Cinema, how's it going, man? How was your project? Man, yeah. Did you get any practice with that the Pix boom? That thing looks so impressive. And then separately, I should be hearing back soon about the live stream, when the date will be for that. So I'll let you know, hopefully, probably next week. Because they had said previously it has to be during low season, but then I think low season goes until end of June, and then there's like a few months, obviously, of high season, and then after that. Swiss Army says, "We are thieves," famous saying from him. Who? This guy? Werner Herzog? Who is this guy? I don't know shit about shit. Werner Herzog. What has he done that I recognize? He seems to be a legendary German filmmaker. I threw in the word legendary, but let's see. Do I recognize anything? Wait, he did The Mandalorian? No, doesn't make sense. Rick and Morty? I'm so confused. What has this guy done? Movies. Okay, Jack Reacher. I don't think I've seen it. Ghost. Oh, he did Ghost Elephants. I haven't watched this, but yeah. Okay, it's on Disney Plus. I've definitely seen a lot of advertisement for this. For decades, there were rumors of Ghost Elephant. No, that's not it. Ghost Elephants. Okay, so he filmed conservation biologist. This is exactly what I want to do. I'm trying to, obviously that's the goal, is like I'm trying to find these conservation biologists, see if I can film them. Oh, Swiss Army, in case you're interested of, okay, I'm trying to put together some ideas of like what would be some film projects I want to do. This one, unfortunately, can't be done anytime soon, but hopefully when things improve in Ukraine, I think it would be interesting to go there to follow a biologist or like a zoologist who is tracking the return of the wildlife. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, like I've only been to Ukraine once, and it was only in Kyiv. But, you know, by all accounts, I was always planning to go back because it's got such good nature and like, you know, national park kind of things and just all around nice place to go for nature. So I imagine in a war-torn environment where all the wildlife basically flees, right? So when you create those displacement of not just humans but animals of all kind, what happens when things start to return to normal? Like, how do the wildlife come back into the land, especially in areas now where, by all accounts, you've got like fiber optics literally just you know, covering the landscape, and mines, and who, you know, like it's just like, you know, I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to say anything that could come off too offensive or anything, but it is like, look, how often are there scenarios like this where you've got such a crazy modern era war situation, and having the ability with the technology now to actually track certain things, like how does nature come back to equilibrium? So anyways, this is a long way of saying, like, I don't know when this would happen. It's probably something years from now, but yeah, that would be one thing I think would be really fascinating to be able to be a part of a film project, just to track, because I think there's already going to be enough filmmakers, people that are focusing on the human side of things, like, you know, whether it's the human stories, the individual human stories, or like just whatever that's happening there. But then from a wildlife perspective, if that's where I still want to focus, which I do, trying to understand exactly, like finding a nice angle there of how animals return to after a war. So anyways, so it says, oh yeah, that would be cool. What about the effects on birds and animals of all the crazy fiber optic cable everywhere? Exactly, yeah. So I think there's something there. And like I said, it's not something I can act upon anytime soon. I do have a few potential ability to like connect. I know a few Ukrainians, surprisingly, but I mean, it's because I'm in Dubai. There's a lot of Russians, Ukrainians, a lot of people all over the world here. But yeah, it's definitely a thought that I have, that I want to scratch that itch when, again, fingers crossed, the war ends soon. Hopefully things are being restored, you know. And then in that period, perhaps I could just follow around one of these biologists. But anyways, in case, I know you do a lot of film projects, travel stuff, but in case that could be of interest to you, just FYI. And then separately, I think there's a chance that I'll be going back to Uganda fairly soon. Because the partners I work with, they are opening a new lodge near the chimp territory. So potentially I might be going there to help like photograph and film their lodge. But while I'm there, I figure I might as well also see if I can push to do like a different film project. So one of the things I really want to do is I want to interview and like do a very, very quick story. Same thing, like a 3-minute, 5-minute type video of just like the life of a ranger. So imagine the life of, I would probably want to do one on the chimps. The gorillas are also fascinating, but filming the chimps would be much easier terrain-wise, because you've been there, Swiss, but obviously trying to film people in the Bwindi forest and that jungle is insane. It's like multiple levels more challenging than trying to do that in Kibale for the chimps. So yeah, I don't know. I'm that could be of interest, where it's like I'll see if I can try to pitch that at the same time I go back to Uganda. So it says, yeah, I think that would be an awesome experience. Also rapping in Chernobyl in that area, because that has all been torn up because of the war as well. Oh yeah, man, I still need to watch that documentary. Hold on one second. I didn't read the rest of this. So he followed this doctor. He's in search of a mysterious, elusive herd of ghost elephants in the highlands of Angola. I want to go to Angola. Deep within his forests. Blah, blah, blah. Gotcha. You know what? I really should watch more wildlife documentaries. For someone that keeps saying that I want to do these types of stuff, it's funny that I really don't watch many documentary-related stuff. So I should add that to the list. Overnight with gorillas. Yeah, I mean, you have the laugh face, but I'm not even kidding. That's definitely what I want to do. Like for me, I thought it'd be fascinating to film the day in the life of those trackers, you know, like the advanced scouts who are staying there. And from my angle, it's just like humanizing the experience, but also, so it'd be like the focus of the story is the human story, but tangentially, you're seeing obviously bits of nature, the wildlife that's part of Uganda. And so it would be a way to promote Uganda. Because my hope is like, okay, maybe I can try to properly work with the tourism board, things like that. And I do technically now have a little bit of a connection with the Wildlife Authority. They had reached out about using the short film that I made. They want to use it for their promotions and stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, maybe just making a proper short film, interviewing one of those rangers, trying to understand like how they became the ranger, like what kind of application process, what kind of training, all of that kind of stuff that led to them actually now having this crazy lifestyle of, being on a first name basis basically with these gorillas and having to track them in the forest, usually they say they stay overnight. I don't know to what extent that looks like, but yeah, I think it'd be fun to film and kind of just showcase it. So that's on it's on my list of things, because my goal right now is I think I need a crate. Let's call it like 9. I need way more 5-minute style short films that I think I've been able to prove I can do cinematic stuff, but the real question is, can I do proper storytelling? And, so the more of those I can have as a portfolio, then I think I can properly sell myself to, as a filmmaker or doing like travel related mini docs or whatever concepts, and get hired to do fun stuff. That's the hope, Swiss says, let's do a day in the life of a tracker ranger. Exactly. And I have a friend in Angola. Oh, nice. Yeah. Why did Angola come up? Was that where they have the Tuareg people? Because that was one of the things I was briefly researching, because I think this would also be something fascinating to make a quick documentary, like a mini doc on. And I thought, oh no, sorry, I'm mixing it up with Algeria. Wait, where's Angola? Ah, okay. Oh yeah, my bad. I was mixing up Angola and Algeria. I mean, I do want to go to Angola as well. And potentially I might be able to do some stories in Zimbabwe. And then Asilia, Africa. Asilia had mentioned they have a lodge in Tanzania. They have it's like, oh yeah, here, Rubondo Island. So this one was one of those where I started to pitch to them that I could maybe do a film project on this island, because it's like it's one of the lesser known locations from a tourist perspective, right? Because like when people are visiting Tanzania, they're going for like the Serengeti, things like that, but they technically do have this lodge on a small island that basically connects to, like, from there's like an airstrip, so then from here you can fly to Uganda, where they just opened up a lodge, or other locations. And they have chimps here, and the chimps here are not as habituated as, it's not as like it's not as structured probably, or as mature in terms of the development as you would expect in like Kibale and Uganda. But it's basically, it could be a fascinating place. I definitely want to pitch this as a place where I can spend some number of days, where I could see the experience, film it, hopefully at some point like build out some itineraries to bring people with me for like photo tours. But yeah, hopefully try to see what the chimp experience is like, and then maybe I can make a film Same concept. Like maybe interview one of the rangers that lives on this island, who's part of the habituation process for the chimps here. So, anyways, my point is, Swiss. A lot of my focus right now is just trying to brainstorm what the best quick travel film projects could be that I could more realistically spin up, like through my current connections, to see if I can, like, you know, spend 3 days, 4 days, film something. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just something that I can then slap together, and, like, you know, hopefully it turns out above average, but it just becomes another big thing that I can point to of like, hey, look what we've done. And also, Swiss, whenever we are able to, and again, I should hear back hopefully next week, but when we do our live stream pilot, one, I did request if we can spend extra days there. So instead of 5 days, if we could make it like 7 to 10 days. But then two, ideally, I want to time that, or I want to combine it with doing a film project. So, you know, it's like, yes, we'll go there in Kenya at their main lodge, do the live stream test for those days. But then during some of the extended time, ideally, we could also, because they do a lot of conservation efforts. So maybe we can film one of those things and turn that into a nice little story that, yeah, you know, fingers crossed, but those are the
And the
few
Oscar
things.
goal.
Ooh, actually, wait, which one do we watch? Okay, let's watch this Werner Herzog thing as I finish editing.
Never been in all my life in 70 films, not a 1 hour overtime. And I finish my shooting days at 3:30, 4, because I don't shoot coverage. I know what I'm doing. So, and no, it's actually Nicolas Cage, when everybody was very nervous about me not shooting coverage, he called the team together and he said, listen, for the first time I'm working with a director who knows what he's doing. and that silenced things. And I do substantial things without panic, without allowing any extreme pressure on me, and how shall I say, I'm not a workaholic. And editing a film, Grizzly Man, was edited basically in 9 days. And it's appalling for me to hear that young filmmakers are shooting 550 hours of footage. My heart sinks. They don't know what they are doing.
Why do you think, I mean, in terms of shooting that much, do you think that's because they simply don't know what they're doing, or
That's why I do it. My reasoning is I just don't know what I want. I had no vision. So then I shoot everything with the hopes that afterwards I can retroactively stitch something together that's good. Whereas I respect people like this guy, Werner Herzog, although I don't think I've really seen much of his stuff. But if he's the type who just shoots everything intentionally or with intention, it's like, damn, if you have the vision, you know exactly what shots you need, and you need nothing more than that. That's like a level of confidence that's like bordering on too much hubris. But yeah, if you can show your work. So it says, yeah, might as well make best use of the time down in Africa and get more stories. Yeah, exactly. I think I want to start to market myself as kind of like doing film projects in some part of Africa, whether it's like Northern Africa, Southern Africa, East Africa for sure. But I know that's like, there's a lot more quote unquote like competition there. Or like everyone probably wants to do East Africa for like for the wildlife stuff. I don't know. But yeah, like, man, where else do I want to go? So Algeria or Morocco for the Tuareg tribe would be great. Sounds like maybe I might have some connections for South Africa or Zimbabwe. Ethiopia would be really fascinating. I had a connection there initially. I was initially supposed to travel there for a number of days, but then I ultimately ended up going to Mongolia instead. But Ethiopia, I've really wanted to go to like the Simeon Mountains, I think it is. Simeon Mountains or Bale Mountains? For those crazy baboons. Let's see. Wildlife. The Gelada baboons. Gelada baboons. Yeah, to be able to go up to this like the highlands and like see these baboons on the cliffside, and then also hopefully seeing the wolves and some other creatures. I think this would be fun to film. Swiss says, yeah, this is how it is to work with. Hold on, let me make sense of that. This is how it is to work with OW. I'm trying to figure out what that. My brain can't get past that. This is how it is to work with something if my directors. One of my directors, maybe that's what I was saying. Eric is a genius and edits in his head on set. He doesn't want random shots. Every shot is a painting to him. Yeah. It's the same thing with like photographers who, you have some photographers, they know exactly what they want. They shoot one shot and they're done. The one shot wonders. Whereas for me, generally I'm what would you call it? Spray and pray. That's like the tag I give myself. So I'm the spray and prayer, and then you've got the one shot wonders. And I'm definitely on that side. Oh, sorry, I saw your next message. This is how it is to work with one of my directors. Gotcha.
You think it's insecurity? Why?
No, they don't know what they are doing, and the crux, which is also a benefit, are these digital recording systems. Yes, the cameras are very good, and they just keep the camera rolling, and they end up with 650 hours of footage, and it's all mediocre, and you cannot find any gems in an ocean of mediocrity. So they're doomed.
This guy's either. How do I feel about this guy? He must be so good at what he does. He must actually be legendary for him to speak like this. That level of hubris has to be earned. So I'm assuming this guy must be really good at his craft.
And no, it's a very serious thing, and very often I'm confronted with young filmmakers, and I run my own film school, and I try to make it understood to them, be selective, do what you really need for the screen. And a film like Into the Abyss, which is also on Netflix, has, I didn't shoot more than 6 or 8 hours footage for an almost 2-hour film. So
it's an incredible ratio.
No, it's the right thing. That the correct ratio is it should be. And you see, if you have to earn your money for producing your own film, doing the night shift as a welder in a steel factory, as I have done, and if you're forced to buy 35 millimeter celluloid raw stock and you have to give it to a lab, and it has to be developed, and you have to have dailies. Of course, every single second that is ticking by costs you $5 at least. So you better learn very, very quickly the value of time, of what you are covering, of how you are focusing.
Yeah, good message. I definitely don't disagree. Like I said, I'm jealous of people who can do it that well. All right, let's check out why Parasite is impossible to replicate. And this photo is turning out better than I expected. I'm going with like a black and white, adding a bit of grain to the shot, so keeping it intentionally grainy. And then I added a bit of, what's the opposite of dehazing? I've hazed my shot a bit. So give it a little bit of softness to it. I might actually remove a bit of the grain. It might be a slight too much. I just want like a touch of grain. Yeah, okay.
Goes to Parasite. Parasite.
Parasite.
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong Joon-ho.
Some films mature really well.
I think what makes cinema to me.
That was a good feeling. It was a good moment for my fellow Koreans. We're like, hells yeah. Yeah, we're respected now. We're not just K-pop stars anymore. We're part of that Hollywood.
I think ultimately it's something that for some reason stays with you so that a few years later you could watch it again, or 10 years later you watch it again and it's different.
especially if it's made by someone who adores movies.
살다 보니 이런 날이 다 있네.
And the director who really loves movies
이거 사인하신 거야? 기요시 감독님이?
is Bong Joon-ho.
어렸을 때 제가 항상 가슴에 새겼던 말이 있었는데 가장 개인적인 것이 가장 창의적인 것이다. That quote was from our great Martin Scorsese. So
He's one of the most successful directors and one of the pioneers of modern cinema in South Korea.
비디오나 DVD 사러 엄청 돌아다녔었고요. 저는 한 6,000개 정도 있어요.
With outstanding works like Memories of Murder, The Host, Mother, and Parasite. And what's really fascinating about him is his deep love and dedication to movies. Bong is both a fan and a scholar of cinema.
DVD를 가지고 있었는데 박찬욱 감독님이 이걸 빌려가서 먹어버렸어요. 안 돌려줬어요.
He takes many ideas, genre elements, and references from classics, and with his detailed and unique outlook, mixes and matches them into a masterpiece. His movies are designed to last, just like the classics he adores so much.
In other words, there's more to learn about yourself or about life. And the film's the same, you change.
Every few years, I revisit Parasite for exactly this. And even after 7 years, there are things I notice, meticulously crafted scenes and details that add to its quality. No wonder after its release, it not only won Korea's first Palme d'Or, but swept the Oscars too. So I want to dive into all these details and show.
I thought it was a damn good movie. I loved the movie, and then I remember watching a bunch of those analysis style movie or videos on YouTube, breaking down like all the nuances and like the subtle messaging and stuff. I was like, damn, or like the way he directs and storyboards. I was like, oh, to be that talented, come on.
Show you why Parasite's success was inevitable. Parasite is the story of two families. The low-class Kims, who live in a semi-basement apartment, and the wealthy Parks, whose luxurious home is eventually infiltrated. While the director originally planned to explore both of these in depth, ultimately he decided to focus on the members of the Kims.
우리한테 집중 좀 해줘. 응? 우리한테.
The movie can be divided into two parts. The first hour or so shows the infiltration, how all family members get hired by the Parks through deception.
제시카 외동딸 일리노이시카 과선배는 정말
And the second part shows how their plan falls apart due to unforeseen circumstances.
I have to make 4 of them complete their invasion in 60 minutes. That's the reason I make everything happen so quickly.
From the very beginning, everything revolves around forged identities and prestige bias. The Parks believe everything the Kims tell them, because they play on the rich family's bias toward higher education, commendations, and social status. Young-yo, the wife, is...
사모님이 심플해. 영애는 심플.
Her blind reverence toward people who get recommended to her makes it easy for the Kims to fool her.
잘 아는 사람 소개가 아닌다면은 진짜로 못 믿겠어.
Even the expertly forged diploma of Kiwoo, the son who gets the first job, turns out to be useless.
뭐 서류 이런 건 필요 없고요. 어차피 민혁쌤 소개로 오신 거니까.
The father, on the other hand, needs more to be convinced. Yet, an elegantly designed business card,
명함만 봐도 고급스럽네 진짜.
or the fear of being mixed up in a scandal,
오마이 필로폰 코카인 뭐 이런 거.
makes him gullible too. They are more cautious about protecting their own social standing and image than protecting their living space or even their own lives. It's a trust based on nothing, a halo effect created by the fake identities of the Kims, an aura of expertise. The Kims, despite their efforts, can't truly enter the capitalist system. Even when they try to fold pizza boxes, they are rejected, excluded from even the lowest level of work. This gap between the two families reflects a broader reality in South Korea, where rapid, Western-backed economic growth created new wealth, but also deepened the divide between those who made it and those who didn't. With this, Bong is critiquing both modern society and capitalism itself.
저 텐트 저거 빗물 안 새겠지?
아, 저거 미제 텐트잖아요. 괜찮습니다.
Where popular products or brands gain blind trust regardless of their actual worth. But it's not just the parks who fall into this trap.
솔직히 이 돈이 다 나한테 있었어 뭐? 나는 더 착하지.
Think of the university student who offers the job to Kiwoo, Min.
네 친구 박력 있다.
Min, despite being on screen for only a couple of minutes, is talked about almost like a mythical figure. For the Kim family, he's the perfect human being. A handsome, well-dressed young man rising to the top of the food chain through his education and intelligence. But apart from hearing a few things about him, we never learn whether he actually deserves this praise. Kiwoo especially looks at him as a role model. When he gets the job at the parks, he plays a character based on Min, and his whole demeanor changes.
대학생이라 그리고 기세가 다르다 기세가. 오빠랑은 다르지.
He even asks at one point.
민혁이라면 이 상황에서 어떻게 했을까?
And don't forget the stone they receive from him. The guiding light Kiwoo places all his hopes in. But more on that later. An interesting point about the Kims is that despite their new jobs and likely high wages, the film never focuses on them getting rich. We never see them spend this money, wear new clothes, or move to a better apartment. It's another sign that social status and respect matter much more in their society than money itself. It's all about how things look, not reality. Bong also makes an effort to subtly make fun of art critics, and by extension, film critics too. Yeah, I see the irony. Kiwoo, in an effort to sound more intellectual, labels things he doesn't quite understand as metaphors.
야 이거 진짜 상징적인 거네. 진짜 상징적이다. 진짜 센데요. 와 여기 진짜 상징적이다.
So everything, from the people to the ideas, is a lie, a forgery, a fake.
기우야, 너도 속았지? 리얼하지 않냐? 안 그래?
An attempt to cheat the world around them, so the cycle of biased recommendations continues. In their elaborate scheme, the Kims even attempt to cheat the senses. Sight with the forged documents and elegant clothes, hearing with fake phone calls, touch with a firm grab of the wrist or kisses, taste through sweet fruits, especially peaches, and the ramdon which Chung-suk, the Kim's family's mother, falsely claims to be an expert in. But there's one sense they didn't think about in time, one that ultimately leads to their downfall: smell. Bong makes sure to give us hints throughout the film, pointing to the pride of the father, Ki-taek, paired with his suppressed aggression. But this is just one of many resonances and moments of foreshadowing. There are two types of these. One is visual patterns, using similar imagery, locations, or objects to connect separate moments in time, like the secret door in the basement, where the housemaid moves around comfortably, showing us that it's normal for her to go down there, making it even more shocking when we find out what she actually does. Then there's the tendency of the housewife to secretly observe her employees, a pattern in her behavior, and also a motive for Bong. While she thinks she has the upper hand by peeking, in many cases, she's the one being tricked. But sometimes, these are not just visual patterns or resonances, they are foreshadowing.
맨날 뭐 2인분을 드셨대나 뭐.
The horrific story of the cake, connected to the ghost the boy saw, along with the painting Kiwoo looks at. They all point forward to the reveal of the man in the basement. The boy is also connected to this man through another element, the lights and the Morse code. Seeing the lights turn on automatically throughout the film is once again hard to call foreshadowing.
쟤는 어째? 센서가 지멋대로야.
The viewer has no way of connecting automatic lights with someone manually switching them. But what Bong does here is recontextualize something we associate with wealth and a luxurious lifestyle into something unsettling, where something hidden is at work, and no one knows about it. so Bong hides everything under the guise of repetition. He doesn't want you to notice these signs. He wants to shock you and make you go back and uncover the hidden workings of his elaborate system. Another part of this design is symbols. We can also see these as repetitions, but in many cases, we can assign meaning to them. The most obvious and one of the central motives of Parasite is the scholar's stone they get from Min. It even becomes a gag very early on, how ridiculous it is to assign meaning to such a simple object. But despite the irony, and especially because it means something to one of the characters, even if the others criticize him for it, it's important to understand the role of the stone. In my eyes, all the hopes, ambitions, and plans of Kiwoo are encapsulated in it.
저 내년에 이 대학 꼭 갈 거거든. 너는 계획이 다 있구나.
It's a promise of another life. He looks to it for guidance. To him, it's a reminder of the people he looks up to and the man he could become. Educated.
Okay, I'm kind of stuck on these photos. So either I might just leave this for next time. Because you would think, in some ways, I'm looking at something, oh, this should be easy to edit. Because we got some really cool, fascinating light going on. But then separately, it is kind of tough for me. So it's quite the conundrum. Like, this one should be fun to edit, but I'm struggling a little bit. So... yeah, I might put this on pause for next time because it is, I'm stuck. Okay, let me see how many more photos do I have left to edit then. So let's say we got some, so at least 2 of these shots of the silhouette, then maybe 1 of these shots of the eagle in flight if it looks okay, because it was pretty low light. I think 1 of these shots here as the eagle's landing. So definitely this one. I'll do a bit of cropping. Maybe this one, and then this one if I crop out the person on the right. 1 of these portraits for sure. So now here at least we don't have to worry about the silhouette as much in terms of the lighting. 1 of the eagle. So we got some decent eagle shots, portraits around sunset time. Okay. So let's test how good the camera is here, how much we can rescue from that. And then, is that it? A few more portraits, those would be easy. And then a couple more of the cow. Oh yeah, we still, man, we still have a lot more, Jesus. I thought I was close to being finished. I got at least another day's worth of edits. Because there's some good photos in there, especially that horse that we just saw. Maybe 1 of these, if it's all lined up properly, I'll have to lift up the shadows. Oh yeah, and then probably this will be the money shot. This is the hero shot where we have a black and white horse. So this is my yin and yang, essentially. So it'll be fun to edit this one. Interesting choice by me, I guess, that I shot this in portrait mode. I don't know what I was thinking. My only guess is that I just didn't want to miss the moment. I was already shooting in vertical, so I didn't want to switch it around. Because like I feel like I should have just shot this in landscape. But, you know, what can you do? This one is landscape because I cropped it in, I believe. Actually, is that true? Yeah, I cropped. And then we'll have this really cool shot of the horse with the big belly. So that'll be fun. The long mane. Okay. Yeah, so we got plenty of more photos to go before I can say officially this is done. But like I said separately, I did finish the video for the India photo montage. So probably over the weekend I'm going to post that on my YouTube channel. So I hope you guys enjoy. It's about, I think it's like 3 minutes, a little over 3 minutes. I just found a nice soundtrack on MusicBed. And then I just mapped the photos onto that soundtrack. So I think it's about 90 photos or so from, I think 2 to 3 trips that I've been on to India. I need to go back. India is also a perfect location to go for wildlife photographers, but we'll see. All right. Anyways, I'm also hungry now. It's 10:30 p.m. I need to freaking eat my dinner, and I don't know which movie I'm gonna watch. There's so many options now. We've been watching all these backstories of movies. What's on the list for me? Maybe Crash, or I already forgot. You guys recommended something to me. Anyways, it's gonna be movie night for me as I eat my dinner and then just chill with my cats. So, yeah. All right, are my cats here? Speaking of, all right, let's just say goodbye to Nala hanging out. What is she doing? She's not even chilling on either bed. Oh, it's because Kimpop's on his bed, and then Nala's just hanging out on the cabinet. So my cats are also saying hello and goodbye. Let me give a final pet to Kimpop. Good boy. Good girl. All right, so Kimpop says goodnight, Nala says goodnight, and I say goodnight. So thank you guys for... I didn't even think I was going to stream today, so I appreciate you guys who hopped in and contributed to the chat. Check out my videos. Check out my latest YouTube video. It's on YouTube. Let me know what you think of it, and then I'll post another one over the weekend. So have a happy Friday and good weekend to all of you guys.